Yeah, I'm telling you, Ian, he's becoming a big problem. I caught him.
So?
Well, he's stealing peanuts. I
What?
caught him upstairs.
Shelled or unshelled?
The unshelled ones, the expensive ones. He took them
Yeah.
out of your pantry. And I just don't know what to do. You know, the guy, he keeps calling me, wants to work. He wants to work every freaking day. I'm like, Ian, come on, man. I got back from Disney. I need a week off at least. You know, and he just...
You need a vacation from your vacation?
Yeah, of course. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And-
What? I wasn't here for
Oh,
that. What?
oh,
Did
hi.
you guys say something?
Hello.
Oh, hello. What day is it? I don't even know.
Did you guys do
Wednesday.
this last week or no?
No.
So we
No.
had. So
It's been a few weeks.
It's been a few weeks. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Sorry.
Well, hello everybody.
Hello.
You're a little askew. I'm sorry. I'll fix it.
So much to talk about.
So much to talk about. Well, hold on. Wait. Let's do
world
the
has not
intro
stood
and
still.
these are
we've been-
backwards. I'm confused. Welcome to today. What is it? Today on the Skeptics.
The 4th, Wednesday
whatever.
the 4th.
Wednesday the 4th of June. Did Tesla exist?
Mm-hmm.
Oh wait, I did Tesla twice. Whatever. Rainbows
car?
and Pride is June. America, woo! And then also Tesla is a lie. I did that twice, but there's a bunch of things. We're gonna talk about a bunch of things. Anyway, let me fix TikTok. Sorry, all the computers are weird because of Nauticon.
So I haven't read the news in 2 weeks,
Nothing's really happened.
and I'm glad. Yeah, like I did a quick summary, and not much took place.
You're fine. Yeah. it's
American democracy ended. You heard that.
fine. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
We saw it
That
coming.
ended a while ago. Come on.
So we got to talk about
Doctors of
Nauticon.
Blood.
We got to talk about Disney.
Mm-hmm.
So first of all, Nauticon happened. I'm seeing that a lot of people here were at Nauticon. I had a great time.
As long as you were happy.
Yeah, but
that's all
that's
that
what I was going to say is, it doesn't really matter. No, but we did it again. We had an awesome lineup. We had tons of great moments throughout the conference. I got a lot of great feedback from people, and clearly everyone was having a good time, which is my true intent. That's what we want. We want people to meet each other and have that sense of community because, not only is it there, but we need it. We all need it. Yeah. And, you have any standout moments from the conference?
Not really. I mean, because everything came off like we planned. Everything
Yep.
was good. We had 2 good shows that we recorded. I loved all the SG universities. I think
Yep.
was my favorite part of
Yeah.
the con.
Yep. And then the new bits that we came
all
up
the new bits were
SG
fun.
Feud and Wu Tank and
Yeah.
Never Seen It.
Pitching Woo.
Pitching Woo, whatever.
Yeah,
It's,
yeah.
Pitching
it's,
Woo.
it's never going to
That's what
register
it
in my
was.
head.
Wu-Tank was the first iteration.
I really liked the music at the end.
Mhm.
With,
Oh, yeah.
with all of us playing with George, that was cool. Very
Well,
fun.
Andrea's, you've never seen it or whatever. People seem to like that too.
That was great.
That was pretty wild.
That came up. I mean, I laughed with every single one. I was laughing the whole time.
Yeah.
Just seen it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was very good.
Or whatever.
Yeah, that was surprisingly funny. I thought we were going to try to stay away from being overtly funny.
You
and
can't
just-
try too hard.
Yeah, you can't try too.
The primary thing is you got to go with the scene. So the bit is somebody who didn't watch a movie that most other people have watched get thrown into a scene with no prep, and they have to. The other people are reading the dialogue from the scene, but you are just winging it, and you have to try to infer from context what you're supposed to be doing and what's happening, and it's.
And it can't. I can't see it not being funny, no
Yeah.
matter how you slice it. You know what I mean? Because
It's just an improv bit.
yeah.
Yeah, I think going with the scene is the way to go. But also being funny within that context, I think,
Sure.
is what because we got so many laughs because people were genuinely in the scene and being funny at the same time. Whereas in the beginning, we were specifically saying to all of us, like, don't tell any jokes, don't try to be funny. But I think it's a combination of being in the scene, but also trying to make it funny too. And I think that was the sweet
so
spot.
it's just really easy to go too far, and to lose the whole idea of the bit. But
And
anyway.
we pulled a prank on Kara with that bit.
That was fun.
Where so Kara like is wildly known to be science fiction illiterate, which the novella boys are clearly not. So I came up with this idea, like, let's do a scene with Kara where she'll think, okay, all the guys want to do this, so it's going to be a science fiction movie. But we kind of mishmashed a bunch of different science fiction and fantasy characters into a scene. So we had like Spock and Darth Vader and
Star Wars, Star Trek,
And
Harry Potter,
Harry Potter.
Doctor Who,
And-
all mashed together. We were
and-
all saying various lines.
Now, I suspected, throwing Kara into that she would kind of like step out, be like, no, what the hell's going on? You know what I mean?
But
'Cause
she
it was-
went with it, though.
But she did. She stuck with it, and she actually did a good job.
Yeah. And she kind of figured out.
She figured it out.
She knew it was a
Yeah.
mashup. She knew it was a mashup.
She's not
Yeah.
stupid.
It's so in the zeitgeist. You can't not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right,
Like,
right.
there's-
Bob, did you have a favorite? Anything? Nauticon?
Well, I mean, I loved my skeleton SG University. It was so much fun. But I mean, it was all such a high level. Like, have you seen it? The scene at one was funnier than I anticipated. That was so good. Everything. There was not a clunker in
Nothing
the
failed.
entire
Yeah.
weekend, and not even no failure. But they were good. Each one was fun and interesting and hilarious in its own way.
The only failure was my 3D the 3D printer that didn't print the gold
3D
fucking
printed
rocket.
crap out halfway through the week.
That was annoying.
Well,
but
I think it's because it was on the table that was shaking.
it was that, but it was also the filament is like, I had to run it at a higher temperature. It was the first time I was using that gold one, so it just
okay.
wasn't. It needed a hotter temp.
You
Yeah,
bastard.
'Cause that was
You
that was just a
bastard.
novelty anyway, because we had the.
The silver ones,
The-
right?
yeah,
Yeah,
Just
that's
like
fine.
a,
It was
like a
just for fun.
demo.
But I did print some other stuff with it, and we'll see some.
Yeah, because I've
future
never
videos, maybe.
seen our printer before, but it made me think,
Keep doing God's
how
work. Thanks, man.
unreliable is this 3D printer?
No, they're
It-
pretty good.
It's like hit and miss, you know what I mean? Because like once it fails, it's hard to recover. You
Yeah,
have to
yeah.
really do some math, and not a lot of the printers allow you to go back to a layer, so it's a little bit of a you just run it again, screw it.
And keep in mind, it's a $350.
Yeah, that
printer.
one's like low end,
Like,
mid low end.
There
printer.
are 3D printers that print with the same material that cost thousands of dollars.
yeah.
And the fact that we cranked out 40 of those rockets.
I
Yeah.
was running that 3D printer, and we burnt one out
Yeah.
for 3 weeks, like
Yeah.
straight, like printing all those rockets.
Thank you, Amazon.
Oh, I just remembered my favorite bit.
What?
Jay, you
What?
at Wu Tank. What's the real name of that bit?
Yeah.
Pitching Woo.
Pitching Woo.
Jay's bit was
yeah.
was so Jay, you killed it. You killed it. You had to be there. It was so
Oh,
good.
yeah.
My
yeah,
group
you're
of
right.
people were so
fish.
yes and when we
Whatever.
were down there prepping that bit.
Mm-hmm.
So the bit was that it's basically Shark Tank, right? So we have a panel of
Literally.
the experts that are going to judge the presentation of all of these different things. But what happened was we split the audience up into sevenths, right? So each group had about 20 people or whatever. And we had to come up with a designated thing. Like one of us had to come up with
A pseudoscience.
a pseudoscience,
A
a fake
conspiracy,
medical
a-
device,
Yeah.
and
Some woo,
Not a
some
cult.
brand of woo.
my group got a cult leader.
Not a cult.
So, and it was so fun because everybody was
They
contributing.
committed. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we
Commit
all,
to the
and then I'm
bit.
like, and I told you, as soon as we came up with this bit, I remember like, I'm in the shower and I'm thinking about Nauticon because, I'm constantly running it through my head. I remember it hit me in the shower. I'm like, oh yeah, I got to walk up there with like as many of the people that are willing to do it because in Shark Tank, they have bits where like people will show up with other people and they'll
Yeah,
have like
yeah.
a rah-rah group. So I'm like, I'm going to go all the way in that. And that was my idea.
Awesome.
And it just worked.
Yeah, we're
Seems like-
recapping Nauticon from last
Nauticon.
month. Sorry for anybody who came in late and
Yep.
wasn't familiar with that. I don't have it unlisted.
When
on
are we
the thing.
doing the next Nauticon?
Yes, that's true.
Yeah, we gotta talk
Where
about
and
it.
when and what?
Well, we sent out the survey.
That's true. If you didn't check your email, make sure you check your email. Answer where you want us to go. 'Cause some people,
Yeah.
White Plains is
Are
only
we
as
going to
good as
stick to
White
the
Plains
18
is.
months thing?
It depends
Could
on
be.
what people want. I mean, if they want to do it next year, I'd be in. If they want to wait a
It's
year
so
and a half.
evenly split with like when people want stuff. It's hard to figure that out.
I do
With,
think
like-
we should move to a different city.
Yeah, White Plains sucks.
Yeah, the
it
problem
was
is,
okay.
though, it gets to the point where if it's a plane flight, then that's a whole new beast. You
Yeah.
can't bring anywhere near the stuff that we drove.
No, we have to drive it.
White-
We can't fly
so
anywhere
it's
with
within
that.
driving distance. So
I mean, we could theoretically. It would just cost a lot more money. Plus, we don't want to fly because that alone could make it unaffordable.
Yep.
We don't want to raise the ticket price up so much that people are like, "I'd like to go, but you guys are crazy."
Well, I
It's a
wonder-
delicate balance, like
Yeah.
everything is. Conferences are expensive to run. They take a ton of work, and
And
don't
they
make
cost-
And they,
and it- I
they
mean-
cost a lot of money, and they don't make a lot of money. So it's not like we're making bank. It's just we're just barely breaking even, just covering a little bit of our time.
Shannon, I was just watching the video of you from
Shannon.
what was it called, Bob? Passing away.
Yes, passing away in the audience next
yeah.
to you're a ghost next to.
Yeah, and she knows
Courtney.
we were just talking about this in Disney together, and she knows exactly what bit that she did that I like the best. So anyway, now that Shannon's here, let's talk about our Disney trip.
Oh,
Yeah. First, I want to just respond to
Disney.
bees.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Thanks for the kind words. I'm still working though. I retire at the end of this month.
but Steve, a lot of the heavy lifting stuff has evaporated. Yeah, you don't have to do any of your certification
Oh
prep
yeah,
and all
but
that
that's
crap.
That was once a
I'm
year
still
anyway, right?
working 9 to 5. I'm still have full patient schedule.
Well, I noticed a difference.
A little pep in a step. Maybe it's the Will It Bread segment. That's which we don't have today, so don't ask.
So Shannon is actually a lifelong friend of my wife's, and I've known Shannon
My wife.
a very, very long time. And she and her daughter came to Disney World with us because her daughter and my daughter are besties. Even though they don't live in the same state, they're definitely best friends. And we, Steve. So this kicked off when Steve and Jocelyn asked me and Court if it was okay. Basically, you were like, "Hey, we want to help pay for your kids
Yeah.
to go to Disney World."
Yeah,
right?
because they were
That's how
getting
it
too
started.
old for their first time in Disney.
Yeah, and
Having
it really needed to happen because my son's 12 and he can instantly turn into a teenager and no longer care about anything that happens like this. So that was for Christmas, and then we ended up doing it last week. And there was a lot of people. We had a lot of people down there.
15.
Yeah,
15 people.
at our height.
Wow.
It was cool because people were
We
breaking
can
off.
break
and-
off. The cell phones are great because it's easy to flow in and out and get together for big things and then break off for a lot
Yeah.
of things. So so you can't move as a mob that size. You'd never get anywhere.
But so I did Disney and Universal. These guys didn't do Universal because they came down for like 3 days. My family stayed there longer, and it was look. I there's so much to say. Let's get the negatives out of the way right now. It's crazy expensive. It's ridiculously expensive, and
They're really good at milking.
they
you.
have commercialized it and monetized this thing into this perfect. Like it's like you walk into the park and you're walking past 100 shops just to get to the fun parts. Then you go on a ride, and every ride has a store, and all their swag is branded to that ride. So like there's like these little
Look at this comment. Bob is jacked. Bob, is that your alt account?
Not Jack. Bob, not Jack.
No, Bob is jacked.
I love you.
like this lunch right here, right? So we had lunch in the Magic Kingdom, and we went to this place. I forget the name of this particular place. And there were-
Crystal Palace.
And how many were there of us in there, Steve? About 10 of us.
Yeah, about 10.
And it was like $700-800.
Yeah.
It was
I-
crazy.
I
7,
couldn't-
10, 100, yeah.
I couldn't believe it though. I mean, it's lunch for crying
Out
out
of the
loud.
world. This is the real shot.
man.
Oh.
Look at that.
Oh man.
When I saw
Galaxy's Edge.
when we came around the corner and
Hollywood
I saw the
Studios.
Falcon, me and my son broke into a run. And you're not supposed to run in Disney World, by
No.
the way. We broke into a run
It's
because I got
illegal.
so
You'll get
excited.
tackled.
We freaked out.
I was trying to record your reaction, and you just ran. Like, oh shit, he's running away.
It was so good. Oh my god! So the ride.
Galaxy's Edge was the funnest part.
So wait, there's a ride in here? Or what
Yeah,
is
it's
it?
a ride.
Oh, okay.
Well, that's so.
You're not in there.
Oh, okay.
It's behind it. in the
It
building
appears to
behind
be
it.
in there though.
All right, so you see that whole U shape behind the Millennium Falcon? I just found all this out. There are, if I think the numbers are correct, there's 32 cockpits.
Oh, is that how many?
I
That's
think
a
there's
lot.
32, yeah. And it's really cool how they manage, when you walk in, they're branching you off. So if some people go left, some people go right, and there's different areas in the back there. That whole back area is where all the actual cockpits are. And that's the thing. You walk through, you kind of like go past the chessboard room on the Falcon, which is like the common space, and then you go into the cockpit. And it looks kind of like the cockpit. It wasn't like
Sure. I mean, and there's 6
Enough.
spots. You got 2 pilots, 2 navigators,
There's 2 engineers.
and then 2 engineers.
we won't tell much more if you haven't gone.
They
But
were
bottom line
generous.
is, you fly a mission in the Falcon, and it was a shitload of fun. And the cool thing about it is it's actually a video game.
Yeah, you're controlling it enough that it affects your score.
Yeah. So it's the it's the most expensive video game you could play. And there's so that technology to ride that ride, and it appears on many other rides now at Disney. They have a new thing that they're doing. Well, new to me, but I think this has been around for a decade at this point. So, like, imagine this is the cockpit, right? Can they see me, Ian?
Yeah.
So here's the cockpit, and people are sitting in here. There's a screen that goes around the whole thing that goes past your field of vision,
Mm-hmm.
and that screen and the cockpit move, right? So if you're banking left and banking right, and the actual
you're
cockpit's
feeling
doing
it.
that, the screen is moving with it too. Freaking amazing, how immersive it is.
It's not a forced perspective. That's real size. The
Yeah.
Millennium Falcon that you're seeing there.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that's
one.
actual
That's
size.
1 to 1.
1-to-1. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very cool. Pretty cool.
Now
Let's
that
look
one's
to
made
the
out of metal, by the way. I saw a picture of the metal
Oh,
frame.
you can tell.
Yeah, it's definitely not like the movie version, which was all.
Yeah. I mean, if you're a Star Wars fan, in my experience, seeing that for the first time was akin to walking on the bridge of the classic Enterprise for the first time in Ticonderoga, New
Yeah,
York.
same level. I
Seeing,
I
seeing
think
the,
I got more of a glimpse on the Enterprise.
a
bridge.
little bit, but
I did.
it's at the
I did.
it's at a similar
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
order
that-
of magnitude.
It was on that level.
It was just like your jaw drops and incredible.
The
So Olivia asked real quick, Steve, what does it cost for one person to go? So if you
depends.
So, all right, part of it is the flight. If you just want to get, the flight price is whatever you're flying from. Then you got to do hotel. Again, if you live in Florida, this is a lot less expensive. But to get in the park and to have a reasonable day in the park, eating and buying some stuff for one person, I mean, what are you in? $400 or $500?
Yeah. The ticket to get in is what, 300, 200?
Yeah, and you got to buy the fast pass.
You don't have to, but
Yeah,
if
you
the
do.
lightning
Well,
lane.
lightning lanes.
If you do
The
the
lightning
lightning
lane,
lane,
you
you
gotta
get that
do
you
it.
get to do many more rides.
You will save a lot of time in line if you get the lightning lanes, but it's a little complicated. If I recommend, if you're going to do it, watch YouTube videos. They will tell you exactly
Or you
how,
can just wing
how
it.
to do it.
Don't wing it. Don't
or-
wing it, because
I-
Bob's
If you
wife
don't mind,
Liz
you don't mind waiting
is
online.
is very good, and she understands the way the whole thing works, and and you have to have that.
She's just
You
a
can't go
guru.
wrong.
There's a lot of variables there. So first of all, there's a lot of really adorable rides that are not the really popular ones,
Mm-hmm.
and you could spend the day doing those rides, and they don't have crazy long lines. If
Yeah.
you want to do Rise of the Resistance and Haunted Mansion and Pirates of the Caribbean, like the really most popular rides, those are the ones you want the Lightning Pass for.
Yeah.
But it's just a way of squeezing more money out of the people. So in terms of cost, it really depends on a few things. One big one is how good a hotel do you want? Because there's the monorail serviced hotels, there's the ones that are farther out, and then you can get and then you can get cheaper ones. You could even stay in Kissimmee and at a motel,
Yeah.
drive in during the day.
But if you're on Disney property,
Disney property, it gets a little expensive, but there's a range there. And
Yeah.
again, same thing with meals. Do you want a sit-down meal with characters, or are you okay just noshing on whatever
Grab
crap
and
is-
go.
Yeah, grab and go, and eating in the hotel cafe. You know what I mean? So there's a huge variability there as well. And then in terms of buying stuff, if you're disciplined, you don't have to buy anything. It's all Disney.
it's
crap
hard. It's
swag.
hard not to. I mean,
If you have kids, you're
forget
gonna
it.
budget something for the kids. You can't drag
Even
kids
still.
through that.
Even still, like
And
to
then
buy a
you expect them not to
lightsaber.
buy anything.
The lightsaber in the Star Wars park, that's Hollywood Studios. It's not just buying the lightsaber; it's an experience, right? It's actually like you go in. It's so cool. I did it. I mean, should I tell people what that was like?
Sure.
You go in. So there is an oval table in this really cool Star Wars room, right?
Do they
You're
measure your
inside.
metachlorians?
You can't even get in there if you don't have a certain level. I hate the whole metachlorians. It still bothers
Yeah, let's
me.
not even go there, shall
But
we?
anyway, so you go in, and you have already picked out the style of lightsaber that you want to build outside while you're waiting. When you go in the room, though, there is people in costume in there that put on basically a show. So one of the people is playing kind of like this force seer type of person that helps people construct their custom light blades or lightsabers. Right now, the lightsaber in the Star Wars canon, each Jedi or each user builds their own lightsaber. They acquire the kyber crystal and all that. So they were kind of going down that vein. But the really cool thing was the person that was like telling everyone what to do and telling the story and making like this thing happen. There was music playing, and it was old school Star Wars music, and it crescendos and everything, and it matched perfectly with her,
No way.
her talking. So when she got into like any of the mystical parts things, like you hear like, it's like Yoda taking the X-wing out of the water, and
It's all
and
the performance.
It was all a performance, but it didn't feel like a performance per se because it felt natural,
Mm-hmm.
And then they built the lightsabers, and they have this cool thing where the blade gets put on and all that. Very, very cool. But that's 300 and some odd bucks.
Mm-hmm.
Not including if you want to actually get a good carrying case for it and a lightsaber stand and more kyber crystals and a holocron or two. You know what I mean? Jesus Christ. So they got you. You're in their park. They have their hand on your wallet. They don't care. They don't care, man. All they want is that money. Steve and I were wildly disappointed with the standard fare of swag.
Mm-hmm. There's a couple of places where you could buy decent stuff.
A couple of
Like there was one Star Wars store where they had they had the good stuff, but most of it's just the same overly branded, kitschy, crappy, low quality.
Yep. Low quality. I
stuff.
bought myself one thing.
Yeah.
In that store, Steve, in that higher end Star Wars store, they had Imperial credits. These rectangular metal ingots. I was 100% sure that I could buy some Beskar metal, like simulated metal. Like I thought, no brainer. I'm gonna get some chunks of Beskar, and they didn't have it.
I've never seen it.
That's the thing. That's the kind of thing they should have.
How could they not be selling that? I mean, there was a whole TV show where we learned all about the Mandalorians and Beskar and all that stuff, and they didn't have.
So here's before we move on, because I think we talked about Disney quite enough. Is Disney wants to be immersive at that park, and they don't quite know how to do it.
They don't know how to do
They
it.
really just don't quite know how to do it.
And they need to talk to us.
They need to talk to LARPers.
Yes,
I
they do.
really, we are professional LARPers. I actually ran a LARP for 5 years. That's a live action role playing game, and there is a group of people who know how to have an immersive role playing experience. And they tried to do that with the Galaxy's Edge hotel thing, and it didn't quite work either. And they did it at the park, at Galaxy's Edge, like the Imperial, the First Order people would come out, and they're trying to role play with the audience.
Yeah.
But they don't quite know how to do it.
Well,
and I get it. They mostly focus on the younger kids. I noticed.
Well, did you find out though? Like, because I'll tell you what I observed. Like Kylo Ren comes out with two stormtroopers. There was one guy dressed up as a Imperial officer.
Yeah, first
order, whatever,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And he's an actor, and he was speaking with his own voice, and he was fine. He was good. He was like, really, blah blah blah. I can tell you all the details of what he said, but it's very much in character, just like the movies and all that. And then Kylo Ren and the stormtroopers come down into the crowd, and everything that they say is pre-recorded.
Yeah.
The actor picks what gets hit, right? We meet Darth Vader in that special area, all pre-recorded.
Yeah.
Pre-scripted, pre-recorded. No, they're not talking.
Oh, it's just being a speaker.
They have a certain number of things that they can say. And
It's like my zombie costume. I hit a button, it's one zombie noise. I hit another button, it's another zombie.
Yeah.
Just, different zombie noise. It's a
They
similar
might even
idea.
have a controller in the back.
They might.
And Mando came out.
Yeah, that was cool.
That was the best
missed that.
costume. That was the best.
Because they had a little
costume
animatronic Grogu on.
Yep,
it.
that was
It
awesome.
really
But
my
you
God.
try to talk to him, and he can only say these canned lines.
Yeah.
And that's part of the problem because they wanted to have a certain quality of set. Like, these are voices that you can recognize, and they're in the helmet, and they all like Kylo Ren and the Mandalorian have almost like a speaker kind of quality to their voice, like it's coming over it's like an electronic distorted voice, whatever. So they don't let the actors talk,
Right.
and that sucks because they can't actually interact.
Right.
They have to kind of do these
No,
basic
they're not
scripts.
Yeah.
But they're not speaking through a speaker in the mask, like from a microphone. They're remote sending audio.
It's triggered somehow. We're not sure. I didn't see them specifically triggering themselves.
I was watching for it too. Yeah, but
So
I'm
it
telling
could-
you, it's recorded.
I
it's recorded.
absolutely
But I mean,
believe
it could
so
be
some-
that the mask you couldn't hear him, like it's so sealed, and then it's just a microphone
Yeah.
inside of it. and it's
Possibly,
going through.
but I mean, I saw the Kylo Ren routine done twice, and he doesn't say anything that he didn't say the last time.
Okay.
Yeah.
To be fair, a few years ago when I was in Disneyland, there was Phasma, right? Phasma at Magic Kingdom, and I am almost certain that was not pre-recorded. The person in that costume was riffing,
Yeah.
and she was my favorite encounter ever because she was mean. She
Yeah.
was mean
Yeah.
to the kids, mean to the adults. She didn't take any crap, and
So
it was
he-
hilarious.
When we went on the Rise of the Resistance ride, the
Which is
actors, the cast members on the ride are supposed to be mean, but Disney mean is just slightly snarky.
Yeah.
That was it. And then we heard, and I'm not sure how true this was, that they were meaner to begin with, but people complained.
People complain.
God.
Give me a break.
The thing is that they're supposed to be mean. Like, you're safe. Nothing's going to happen to you. I guess the only thing is maybe small kids got scared or
Yeah,
whatever.
maybe.
They're supposed to get scared.
They should.
They're supposed to get
They
scared.
should run it where you could pick the adult version and have them
Yes.
really lean
Or
into
they
it.
should have like a little corner of Galaxy's Edge that's more adult and more immersive.
Yeah, it's
And
too
like,
complicated.
don't go into this area unless you're okay with
Some
some
bantha blood getting on you.
yeah
something.
with like more like
Yeah.
realistic role playing.
But it was wicked hot when we were there.
Same thing with the Harry Potter world. I didn't go there, but I know I went to part of it. Like, don't go to Diagon Alley unless you want the dark side of
Yeah.
of the magic. You know what I mean?
They didn't really have any good
Not
like
sure,
actors walking around like spicing
Yeah.
up the environment
Yeah.
at Diagon Alley at all. They didn't, and that was that presentation. So this is at Universal Studios. We walk in, it's just like the movie, just like in the first movie when Harry sees Diagon Alley for the first time. All the shopping that he's got to do to go to school, right? You come around a corner and all of a sudden you're there and you have this unbelievable cathartic moment if you love the movies. And then you quickly realize that it is 100% shopping.
Yeah.
It's just like this store, this store, this store, and
with a few rides mixed in.
and I'm
still
thinking,
worth it if you're
Dylan,
a
my
fan of
son,
the
was like, I want to buy
universe.
a certain potion. He had a potion that he wanted to buy. Right? They don't even have a potion shop. They easily could have just filled bottles with water, colored water, and made these cool potions. You know how they have that liquid that actually shimmers?
Yeah.
I have it.
Right. They didn't have any of that. So it was just the same thing. You walk into this store, they're selling Harry Potter clothes. You walk into this store, they're selling Harry Potter clothes. You walk into this store, they're selling the wands. You walk into this store, they're selling the wands. It's like, come on, guys. I mean, really?
Yeah.
But
That's the thing that they fail at.
but they're making
generally.
money. That they're doing it mindfully.
But they could
Steve.
make more,
Maybe.
in my opinion.
They might have studied it,
I don't
Studied
know.
the blade.
Anyway, it was a lot of fun, guys. It was really awesome. It was a really good time. It was one of those things, like, I just can't see us doing it again because it was prohibitively expensive.
That's my grandkids is probably the next time we'll go
Yeah.
to.
Well, not me and Liz. I mean, we're talking about a fall 2026 Universal trip to see the new Epic Universe. Got to see that, man. With the new monster animatronics. Holy crap! It's like the most advanced animatronics
Anything
I've
going
seen.
on in the science world? There's news.
Yeah.
Oh,
Let's click over
Sure.
now, sorry.
Okay, so here we go. Yeah, now to the real.
wait. I thought that was all been
content.
stopped. All the research has been
Yeah,
just
we got
stopped at
rid
this
of that.
point, right? No more
No
research.
science.
No
Here's
science,
some.
No experts.
So here's some Americans. Well, okay, we'll wait on the American science. Demons.
Mm-hmm.
You guys familiar with demons?
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
I've
I
had
know
few
some
run-ins.
You
personally.
know
Yeah,
some
we've had some
personal
run-ins.
demons. Why did this disappear? I don't know why it went black. Hold on. Stand by. Ignore the fact that just
We love you, Shannon.
went nowhere. Where did you go?
What happened?
There you are.
Shannon was
There
a big
you
part
are.
of the trip
Oh,
for
yeah.
us.
Her daughter Aurora was fearless. How old is Aurora?
I think she's
Aurora's-
27.
Aurora's
She-
9.
She's 9 years
9.
old.
Oh,
she went on every ride.
Everything.
and was
Every ride.
That's so
nothing,
cool.
like no fear whatsoever.
So
I mean, roller coasters that got my attention. Like, okay, this is happening.
I went on the most fun roller coaster of my life, and I went on a very fun, ultra scary, aggressive roller coaster. It was the most aggressive roller coaster I've ever been on. It's called the Velocicoaster. Holy Christ! So my 12-year-old son and my friend's daughter, she's 9. We get on it. They're
Aurora.
I can't imagine that a kid that age could enjoy this thing because it was like
She's right there.
I
with
mean,
all of us.
I'm talking about doing a loop and having a twist. You know what I mean? Like it was really aggressive shit, and you're coming out of your seat. Like that restraint in this.
Really?
Oh my God, Bob, my ass left the seat like 4 times.
Because if you're doing a good loop, it should keep you in the seat. But I guess it depends what you're doing.
Let's hear this guy.
All right. Anyway, demons. Back
Here we
the
go.
Goggles. Science has found a way, maybe, to see demons.
To
Let's see
fight
what this
demons?
guy- No, see them.
Okay.
One of the things that I came across on
Also, notice his shirt. Make conspiracies great again.
Yeah, make
Which is
conspiracies great
awesome.
again.
It's like, is
might-
he a Poe?
he might
Is
be a Poe, yeah.
Well, I don't know. I think they love the word conspiracy. You know, it's like they're in on whatever.
the internet was this mysterious dicyanin and these mysterious goggles that could allow you to see demons and entities and all this.
Oh,
and,
shit.
And I wondered how much they were overselling this.
Right.
So I went to try to find some. Couldn't find it to save me. Nobody was making real ones anymore. They stopped making them in the 80s. Strangely enough, the guy that was making them last was a naval intelligence outfit, Mankind Research Unlimited. We can get into that. But it wasn't available anywhere. You can find it. So I had to go get antique pairs and try to back engineer it and then acquire the chemical and get into manufacturing for that as well to see if these things were even real. I did that. I made some initial pairs for myself and had a couple left over. And I put them up on eBay and Etsy, and I sold out immediately. And one of the people that I happened to sell them to had 1 million followers on TikTok. Thank you. Shout out to Dr. Parkenstein. He's fantastic. And he talked about these, and we got blown up and said, there must be people want these. So let's sell some more. Check them out.
So what's the story behind these?
Yeah. What's
So
the
it just
story
ends the
behind
deal?
it?
So, all right. So, what was the chemical he mentioned at the beginning? It was dicyanin.
Dicyanin.
So this is an old thing that's
Yeah.
just being recycled now, like everything. So the idea is that there's this chemical. It's actually a blue dye, right? And
Is it a psychedelic?
It was no. It's not for. It's toxic. It's
A
not meant
blue
for
dye?
internal
Ooh.
ingestion. It's meant for it's used in textiles, right? It's used in dyeing clothes blue. But it's not used anymore because there are just cheaper, safer options, right? But the claim is that if you take this liquid, like the liquid form of the dye, and you put it between 2 panes of glass, right, which then I guess you could make goggles out of.
So you're looking through the liquid.
So you're looking through the liquid, you could see demons, you could see spirits, the ethereal realm or whatever.
And
It's not true. I mean, obviously
Yeah.
it's total
no, but
bullshit.
did this
They
guy,
live
this guy
sunglasses.
does that guy
They
eventually
live.
say he saw them, or I mean,
I don't know. He just it ends right there. He's like,
It sure
he's
sound
just
like he-
trying to sell them.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it's just a dye. You know what I mean? So the what I think happens is that it's Bob, like the contact lenses you were talking about. It does fluoresce a little bit from ultraviolet light. So
Oh,
people
that
are
makes sense.
seeing like an ultraviolet aura around things, and they think they're seeing angels or whatever. Who knows?
all right, that makes more sense. It's
That's
not,
all.
it's not pure imagination. It's just mostly imagination.
Well, the interpretation is just
mostly
seems
wrong.
so. Then,
Right.
then the whole mythology builds up around. So there are claims that the government has outlawed it because it's illegal because you could see the paranormal with it, but it's actually not illegal. You can make it, buy it, sell it. It's not illegal. It's not listed as any kind of
We actually talked
banned
about it.
substance. People
Are
just
those
don't
them?
use it because
These are different ones, but we talked about it a little while ago because there was like a claim that it was from Vietnam that they had red ones that they could see demons and the demons
red's
were
better.
influencing the war and blah blah blah. And
yeah.
that's why the U.S. lost, not because they're dumb. But yeah, so the red ones see the demons. I don't know what the blue ones see,
They see the
but
ethereal
see
realm.
other the
Get
ethereal
your
realm.
pseudoscience straight.
Yeah, sorry. $230. I mean, maybe we should start making these for merch.
You can print them.
That would be
We'll
kind
just-
of
We'll
fun.
just put blue dyed water in between the lenses.
Yeah, right. Just like kind of wobbles there. I mean, so every old grift is back thanks to
Yes.
the internet. So that's
Absolutely.
fun.
We should make skeptic ones where you can see pseudoscience.
Yeah, just RFK imprinted on it.
All right, so that guy's a scam artist.
Yeah, so he's doing some stuff. But let's look at some claims. Go through them. Nikola Tesla. You've heard of this guy, right?
Oh yeah.
Sure.
He invented the car or something, right? Something like that. Or did he invent anything? Let's see what this guy has to say.
I'm still debating on whether or not
This
Nikola
is a
Tesla
jacking
actually
off
exists.
kind of guy.
This is just asking questions.
Just asking questions, isn't it? And I just not convinced.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's see.
I've heard that theory too. I've heard a lot of people say that because the amount of patents that he filed in a very short amount of time, it was kind of inhuman.
Yeah, but there are other sort of
Doesn't
stranger
matter if it's
anomalies to
44
Tesla.
years.
For
It's not a
example,
lot
he
for
never
an
had
inventor.
sex,
44
so he
years,
has no offspring. There are no descendants from him. But he did have siblings.
That's
One
actually
died. His older brother
very
died when he
little
was
by
young.
modern standards.
In terms of the patents. Yeah. Also, I think they just
Clearly-
said he didn't have sex. Is that what they said?
So you already you don't have any buy-in. We haven't heard anything yet. Like Steve, open your mind, man. Come on, let's see. You never know. You never know. Look at him. He's sitting in a
Free
room
your
filled with
mind.
electricity, and he's not dying.
That's true. That's
Explain that away. Sam.
aliens.
Fell off a horse.
Thank you.
But I cannot find a single living descendant. And I've reached out. I contacted his museum. They said that they didn't know the whereabouts of any of his descendants. The other thing is that if you look for video footage of him, this is a pioneer of technology who gave public talks and lectures and allegedly wrote for journals and magazines. And people would pay him to come to
All right,
dinner
that's his big argument.
if they were having a
That's
dinner.
the whole thing. There's 2 lines of evidence. One, he didn't leave any descendants behind. He didn't have kids.
But what's
You know?
what's his claim?
That maybe he didn't exist.
What?
Yeah, what?
Wh-
Because, Jay, there's no living descendants of Nikola Tesla, and there's only a few photographs of him.
Okay, and probably more photographs of him than other people living at that time.
Yeah, right.
I mean, did he look at old newspapers to support his theory? I don't think so, but wouldn't that be
I
informative?
mean, obviously, there's tons of evidence that he existed, contemporary evidence, people who obviously saw him, were colleagues of his, whatever. It's just so ridiculous. There's so overwhelming evidence. Again, what's the alternative hypothesis that his existence was faked? It's some kind of conspiracy. That's so massively implausible. It's ridiculous. But again, the other third thing was, how did one man come up with so many patents? And actually, the number that's just ignorant. Like that number is really low. If you are running any kind of technology company, you have hundreds, thousands of patents. They patent every little thing.
Yeah.
It's not like you have a patent for
The thing.
the final product, and that's it.
The subcomponents.
They try to patent every little intellectual piece of property they possibly can. And then they license that out.
But even if
it's like,
they-
oh, you're gluing this thing to that thing, we patented that, and you have to give us money if you want to do that.
But even if he wasn't like patent crazy back then, for a guy
That was nothing.
that's not a lot. 350 is not a lot.
over
For
44 years for an inventor who was brilliant and at
Right.
the cutting edge.
So if you what do you get when you divide 350 by 44? How many?
Well,
do you
it's
do a
like
year?
whatever, less than 10 a year.
That's
right?
nothing.
That's nothing.
That's nothing. The
That's
guy's sitting
nothing.
on his hands. He was a lazy piece of shit.
Got him. Did you say something about the videos? Because he died in 1943, and the claim is that how come there's no video evidence of him?
What?
Yeah, I mean, I think they mean film.
Film, whatever. Yeah. Well, how come it wasn't posted on YouTube in 1943?
I mean, he wasn't he a
I
little
know.
reclusive?
Who gives a
Yeah.
shit?
Also,
Yeah.
40s, 30s. I mean, like he
was-
would have to go somewhere to be
Right.
filmed, right? So
He was
like,
quote unquote asexual, which may have been true. I don't know if there was speculation that maybe he was gay, which is fine, but I mean that.
Oh, are they trying to
At that
cancel him?
time-
Are they trying to cancel
Yeah.
him?
No,
'cause
it's-
he might have been trans or something.
No, I think it's just the idea that
Transhuman.
why would somebody in the 1930s and 40s who had was neuroatypical?
He was
and
trans-electrical,
they-
Steve. Okay,
Well,
get
why
the,
would they
get
have
the
been
terminology
reclusive?
correct,
hey,
please?
AC.
He was AC.
His AC.
Oh God!
Sorry.
Ian,
We didn't see that.
you
Good
bastard!
one.
Just
Good
go
one.
home. All right, you earned your
I'm
money
sorry.
today. Go home.
Sorry.
And my question is, who gives a shit about Tesla? All right, everybody makes a big deal about this guy. It's like I don't dislike him, and you're right, okay, he did some
He's
cool.
been mythologized.
Yeah.
Yeah, but really, like now this guy's saying he didn't exist, and like there's nothing to even put a hook on.
Yeah, I know.
It's like, how come I'm a dumbass and this guy was smart? Like, all right. Anyway, so that was a weird one. There's some fun questions here. Let's see if you guys can answer this question.
Okay,
I'll
I'm
try
ready.
to stop it before. This is Caleb Presley. What was his name? Presley. Yeah, he's a pretty funny guy. But let's see what he says.
I probably said this to you before. You probably know the answer because I told it to you. But do you know what the number one top selling product is at Walmart every single year? Walmart's obviously like
Yes.
the biggest store.
Number
so-
one selling product at Walmart.
At Walmart every single year. This is not like a goof or anything. It's like a real question.
Yeah, okay.
Nope.
What do you think?
I mean, if it's
I
not
don't
a
know, there's so
grocery
many
item,
things.
There's a lot of things.
In terms of quantity or expense?
Probably quantity. I think so.
I'm gonna guess.
I'm gonna guess.
What do people go to Walmart?
I'm going to
for?
do it a little bit differently, Ian. I'm going to guess the department first. I bet
Okay.
you. My gut is telling me that it's in like the pharmacy area.
Pharmacy. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
How about bullets?
Bullet. That's like a
Bob.
certain section
Yeah.
of America.
That's
Not
it.
every Walmart has
Yeah.
bullets. I would say that's probably the South mostly.
I mean, there could be toothpaste for all.
Could be
I mean, there's like so
toothpaste.
many things.
Could be.
Because they have like a grocery store
They
and
do.
the pharmacy and the automotive section, and
Yeah.
it could be hand towels. You know what I mean?
All right,
They have-
let's go.
I'll say hand towels.
You say hand towels. Okay, so we got some groceries. Great words.
Best product, biggest product at the
Or bullets.
biggest
Or
store.
bullets.
Yeah.
Every year, it's the same product. They
answer
sell
is-
the
Go
most
ahead, man.
stuff.
Oh my God, girl, I don't know. Let me think.
Does that make my
Theo Vaughn.
You told me this, and I still
I
do
did
not
tell you,
know.
didn't I?
And I still don't know though.
Yeah, you hang out with me for 3 hours, you're hearing this one.
This is good. I like this. I'm gonna say paper. Or no, hold on. Let me think a little bit more.
Let me give you a hint. Don't look at me like that. All right. So think about like evolution or human nature. Like
Okay. Evolution or human nature.
What a hint, man.
Condoms?
Oh, interesting. Anything else that's evolution? Something that Steve likes. I'll give you that.
Fossils.
Anal?
Okay. I don't know if that's evolutionarily advantageous.
Yeah.
Maybe it is.
Okay, go ahead.
Are we going? All right.
What we
The
really-
reveal is right here.
where
we
we
go.
come from and what we really like.
Bananas.
Let me think where we come from and what we really like.
Hello.
Where we come from.
Keys on the kitchen table.
We like chocolate. We like. No, it's a food.
Mhm.
It is?
So is it bananas?
It's
Number one thing they buy every
Yeah.
year.
Every
makes
year,
sense.
bananas.
It
What is it?
bananas.
What is it?
Bananas.
Is it really?
All right, so
40
I mean, is this
4011.
interesting?
No. But it was a question that somebody
the
tagged
answer?
us and they were like, is that
4011.
real? It was like, or they were like, oh,
Bananas.
you know, Steve likes bananas. I don't know.
That's their
4011
grocery
is
I do
the
store.
like
code.
You
bananas.
don't know that? I have all of my stuff memorized, all my favorite produce.
Oh, really? What other produce numbers do you like?
Apples.
Oh, wait, what's the
Apples
number?
and bananas.
It's 1792.
Oh, 1792. What kind of apple? Is
I
it?
like
What's going to happen if bananas go away?
Oh, exactly.
Steve. We never even talked about this. We should probably
Yes,
talk.
we
Just kidding. So, people, if you haven't watched this show for the last 19 years, what Steve's talking about is very quickly. There was a banana before the bananas that we have today. They're Cavendish bananas. Those are the ones that are widely marketed around the world. There was the Gros Michel banana,
Bananas. Mm-hmm.
but
Which
they
is a superior
mostly died
banana.
out because of fungus. And apparently they taste a lot creamier
Apparently,
and have
because
more
it's
of
a
like
clone.
have more of
right?
like an ice cream kind of vibe.
All bananas are clones, right? Isn't
Yeah.
that the Big Mike is what they
So,
called
so,
it.
so now
Mike.
the Cavendish now is having some problems with.
It's all the same.
fungus.
It's the same fungus.
Yeah,
And
I have a perfect idea.
it's
Steve.
spread to every continent.
Now just tell me
Oh. Antarctica?
how this isn't happening. Right?
Yeah.
You must feel the same way.
What?
They take the Gros Michel because they
Yeah.
still exist. They genetically modify that bastard,
Mm-hmm.
and they plant them, and we all get to eat them.
Yes,
Why aren't they doing this?
that's already happened.
Where are
Yeah,
they?
but can they be made, good enough so that it can transport and all that stuff? That's
Well, it
That's
already
the-
is. The thing, the reason there's like 60, 70, whatever banana cultivars. Some of them are like more plantains. They're more like
Yeah, you
for
got-
staple food.
Yeah,
starch.
They're
plantains.
not dessert
Mm.
bananas. But the reason why there's only one cultivar, the Cavendish, now, and other than the Gros Michel, that is shipped around the world is because it's just
By
how long it
silent.
takes to ripen. It ripens off the plant slowly enough that you can ship it anywhere. In fact, you can delay the ripening, and then when it gets to where it's supposed to go, then you can make it ripen. That's because remember those fruits that have like the gas they
Yeah,
emit
yeah,
that
yeah.
induces the
Settling?
ripening.
methyl,
apples
methyl
and bananas
Yeah.
have it.
So it's shippable. That's you go other places, you can get other kinds of bananas, but this Cavendish is the only one that's shippable around the world. But because it's a monoculture, by definition, they're all clones. It's very susceptible to infections, and so the fungus it is the same fungus is now attacking it, and related group of funguses, and also other staple crop bananas. It's really a problem. There are several companies around the world who are developing genetically modified bananas. There's one in Africa that is developing a genetically modified staple banana, like plantain type banana.
that's good.
That's some populations are like 70% of their
Survive
calories
on it,
come from.
yeah.
This is a staple crop. This is like wheat going away. But there's I think it's in Australia. There's an Australian company who have already genetically modified a Gros Michel that is fungal resistant and cold tolerant.
Nice.
And what about the ripening thing?
Think about it already has that.
Already it
feature.
does? All right.
So they could freeze them?
No, so you can grow the plants in colder climes.
Well, why don't you just say that?
It's cold tolerant.
Did cold?
So think about that. A Gros Michel that you could grow in Connecticut.
Yeah, but could you grow it in Connecticut?
Yes.
No,
Yes, I
because
do.
you're
I'm
not
skeptical.
You're not putting them in this.
It depends if there's a cat.
But if they're the
that
whole
will
point,
pee
if
on
they're
it.
cold tolerant, I can put them outside. That's
Yeah.
the whole point.
I'm all in, man.
Oh my God.
I mean,
I
literally.
still haven't had
It just
one.
needs approval. It just needs
100,
approval.
500, $1,000. I don't care. I would buy that banana.
Wait, approval from who? A
Yeah,
guy with
right?
an R, an F, and a
Big
K
B.
in his name?
Big B.
Oh, Big Banana.
Like, yeah.
Big
Don't mess
Mike.
with Big Banana. I mean, I marvel at this. I go to the supermarket and you find a big. I have 4 people in my house, so I can buy a big bunch of bananas, right? It's like $2.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's like what? They're
Somebody grew this in halfway around the world,
Yeah.
shipped it here, and you get a bunch of bananas. for
Are they
a couple of
subsidized by the government?
I don't
I
know.
don't think so.
But
Yeah, I
$2,
don't know.
And they
I've
make a
never heard
ton
of
of
it.
money off of it.
and there's a lot of. It's a lot of food too. It's like
Yeah.
if you can't eat
It is a great
5 bananas. Like I can choke down one and I'm happy.
It's about 100 calories a banana.
Sure.
Yeah, it's a lot of food. So it's really a great item.
Yep. That's
And
true.
very nutritious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good source of potassium.
But do you guys like plantains?
Yes.
yes.
Oh, I
Fried
love
plantains? Do you
Oh,
do
yeah.
the fried ones?
plantains are I could- awesome.
That would be like on my list of like last meals.
Now, do you like the savory or the sweet?
If you
Sweet.
Sweet, okay.
no, but if you like
Savory's
go
good,
to
too.
a restaurant where they know how to make plantains,
Oh, hell
it
yeah.
is
Little crunchy on the outside.
Woo,
Oh
yeah,
my
but they also
God.
have to have a little tartness to them. That's part of
Yeah.
the flavor profile, and they're freaking awesome.
Yeah, if they're on a menu with some restaurant, I almost like. Oh, yeah, I'll get that.
Yeah. If I'm at a restaurant,
Especially if
that
they're a
makes
side
plantains,
dish,
I'll
yeah, oh,
almost
yeah.
always get them. Oh, so
But,
All right.
hey,
but wait, one more comment, because
Okay.
it has to come up every once in a while. When are we going to actually eat a Gros Michel freaking banana, Steve?
We can get them. There's
No,
a company
we
in
tried.
Florida.
we tried, and
tried.
when we got what ended up arriving here was crap. I don't know what the
Okay,
problem
there's a
was.
dude on the
really was
internet
a
we could
gross
probably
Gros
reach
Michel.
out to. His name is
Joey Bananas.
Joey Bananas. How'd you know? No,
Everybody
it's like
knows
Weird Explorer. I think his name is. He goes around the world tasting all kinds of fruit and stuff like that.
Well, whenever I
Yeah.
travel to any place semi-tropical or tropical, I try to find the local bananas.
Yes,
Yeah.
you cook plantains. You have to cook them.
Look at
Yeah,
this
it's like
one.
potatoes. You can't eat a raw potato.
Yeah.
No, of course. Look at this thing. These are some bananas he found. Monster giant bananas in Indonesia. He goes around the world and tries all,
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
stuff. He's dope.
He's got a cool job. Man.
Yeah, it's an awesome job. So he does that. So he could certainly get us.
Oh,
some
he
good-
ate one of those big green things. I
Oh,
heard
yeah.
they smell like rotting flesh.
Oh, durian fruit. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's durian are kind of they're okay, but like you got to sweeten them up.
So he doesn't do just bananas. He does. Other
He does
kinds of-
everything. Yeah, he does.
It's all fruit or all food.
It's mostly fruit. There's sometimes like nuts and seeds, but like usually of the fruit.
So what I find interesting about
Anyway.
fruit is
Yeah.
there's a layer of fruit, like the
Mm-hmm.
really common items. Like I'll just say in the United States, not from the United, but in the United States, there's a layer of fruit that's like it doesn't have any of the weird things that fruit comes with. For example, I've noticed that when you get more exotic fruits that haven't been as selectively bred for properties and all that stuff, that they're more mealy, they have more fibrous material in them. The flavor could be wildly different from one to the next, right? Like the fruits that we are eating have been highly
Well, the ones that are
genetically
industrialized
Yes.
are massively cultivated.
Yeah.
Like apples, look nothing like the wild apples, right? So wild apples
Crab apples.
were small and hard,
Gnarly, yeah.
and bitter.
Bitter,
They
yeah.
weren't as sweet, and they obviously got juicier, bigger, sweeter over years. Bananas have these giant seeds all the way through them.
Yeah, nasty. There's
Yeah.
mostly black seeds.
Yeah, and
Nasty,
that's why
man.
they have to be, because we bred
Clones,
the seeds.
yeah.
We do. What are they? They're diploidy or something.
The cloning.
So
Yeah,
we reproduce them so they're infertile. They don't make seeds, but then of course they don't make seeds. So you have to propagate them through cuttings.
Yeah, look, that's what they used to look like.
Yeah.
They
That's
probably,
what
I guess they
bananas
still do in
look
some
like.
places. You know, they're.
But according to
Gross,
Ray
man.
the Banana Man, God created the banana
Oh my God.
as the
to,
perfect
to,
food.
to fit in
To
your
fit
hand.
in
Like
your
all
hand.
these stupid things that he said. It's like, no jack off.
comfort.
The original banana was a piece of shit. Like
Right.
unusable, unedible,
Well, for
disgusting.
humans at least.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it was fruit is a bribe to animals to spread the seeds,
Right.
Right. So they are supposed to be,
nicer than eating garbage. Yes.
right. It's supposed to be tempting to the animals that eat them, but animals have a much lower threshold of what they
right.
will eat than humans do.
We're much more picky.
They'll just swallow the seeds and poop them out. And
that's
that's
good,
fine.
yeah.
Bam, blam, you got coffee.
The simple coffee, that's-
Also, did you hear about avocados like potentially being? We could have lost them to history because the
Yeah.
avocados were
megafauna.
nothing.
Well, because the giant ground sloths went extinct, and they mostly ate those to spread those giant
Oh.
seeds, and we could have lost. Never had guacamole.
They didn't eat the seeds, right?
Well, I assume they like probably swallowed it and then pooped it out, right?
They're
Like,
giant.
Yeah, but the giant ground sloths are massive.
Oh, the big ones.
The
you
big
mean.
ones, the big boys.
Sure.
Watermelons were these small, nasty things, barely edible.
And, like,
we
if you
took things
could-
that were barely edible
Barely.
and turned them into awesome.
Yeah, of
food.
course.
true.
Yep.
Yeah.
But
so
so
how
God
about that?
didn't handcraft the bananas for people to eat
He's
with their hands?
busy creating diseases. Okay,
Yeah.
Can you
And
give him
giving
some
kids
time?
cancer,
Yeah,
you know?
really. Give him a. No. All right, let's talk about American science. I saw
Oh,
this
here we go.
video.
I mean, yeah, this is the good stuff.
Now this is
man.
American science. I don't know
Yeah.
if y'all seen Cybertrucks before.
Shit, yeah.
Yeah, this is not one of them. This is a good old
Diesel truck. Yeah, that's what I
This is
like.
the truck of the future. There we go.
Oh,
Redneck science,
Mad Max,
boy.
man. Oh yeah, look at my boy.
This is prepare for the future, y'all, with Mad Max. That looks
I
like
love it.
looks like a comfy ride.
I love him. I want to eat ribs with that guy.
Oh, he's just going to throw them to the side.
Check him out. Check him out. Ready?
The slow-mo drone shot.
There was just no chance that wasn't going to
You
shove
know,
those
I
cars out.
don't mind the slow-mo. Slow-mo's great, but show it in real time,
Yeah,
too.
I want to see the smash.
Ooh, tires. See that?
Yeah.
Throw GoPro on the car.
Give me a wide angle.
Look at the
Come on.
boat.
Oh, wow. Look at that. Look at that.
That's some serious Mad Max shit right
Yeah,
there.
it's for real.
I mean, they prepped it for the movie.
I don't know.
Oh,
Look at that.
shit,
Jesus.
dude,
Close
where's
your
your
window,
windshield?
dude. Close your window.
He's too redneck for all that.
See, that's how you drive on a highway after the apocalypse. Just shrug the cars that are invariably stuck there
Yeah.
away. Love it.
Yeah, this
That's
guy-
true. That's what you need for those clouds.
Dude, he won Redneck of the Year right here. This
Yeah,
is
it's-
good stuff,
it's
dude.
full.
Oh, he's going. He's
There's
still
more.
going.
There's more. I mean,
Oh man,
this is what gets Americans excited. I gotta say.
watch this. Watch this.
This
Oh,
is-
this
this is a-
thing is gonna turn to mush. Watch.
Oh, a
objectively
camera
fun.
inside.
Look at it. Those things do not survive any kind of impact. Look at that. Boom, you're dead. Your family's
Yeah.
in there, gone.
Just crazy.
The
You
barrels.
tell those are empty. Just by the way.
Yeah. Well, there's still water. It seems like in some of them. Probably not a lot.
All right.
Crazy. The bouncy.
Are you kidding? A bouncy house?
Is that the finale? Nope.
What's
one
the-
final.
That deserved to be a finale. Why did this?
RV.
Boom.
And he's not really losing much speed.
No, he's
Well, that
booking it.
Well, he went through that one.
his front thing is
Redneck
like deflected.
science.
So I mean, this is why we need to save all the gasoline for these types of things.
There's one thing
Everything
wrong with
else can be
this, and stay
electric.
on that image. There's one
Okay.
thing wrong.
Yeah.
They should have invited thousands of people to watch that. I mean,
No,
like,
yeah, I don't know how dangerous they're
Yeah,
probably like.
debris flying is probly.
We better just
Insurance would have been
maybe.
through the roof.
and in those southern states, they could just drive away and leave all that crap there. Nobody cares.
Yeah. Oh yeah. that's the South. Anyway,
All right,
that's good old American.
So what is
science
it?
for
I
you.
mean, look, I don't know if it's because I'm American or it's because I'm a guy. I have no idea. But it's entertaining for some reason.
Sure.
You know?
It's fun. Yeah, it's goofy.
It's
I mean, I
spectacular.
don't know. It's like Americans, we like big blowy up thingies.
So
You know, it's just
Glenn
fun.
Alert writes no eye protection,
No
and
eye
that was one of
protection.
my favorite parts. Is when he's like, "Ugh, look at these glasses.
Wait, he, had,
Like,
he had a helmet on. Oh, was just a head protection? Didn't have a.
But he
eye
could
protection?
have worn cool goggles.
yeah, he
You know
should
what
have.
I mean?
Yeah.
I would have worn.
Make
a
it part of the costume.
I
Make
would've
it part
worn
of the thing.
Evil-
But also protect your eyes.
Evil Critter says it reminds him of the Dead Reckoning truck in Land of the Dead. It does. That was.
What did we learn?
That movie was.
It's all about
Unstoppable
three laws of
force.
momentum.
Yeah,
and
momentum.
motion.
Yeah, there's
Don't
some science in
Don't
there.
leave your family parked in a mobile home on the highway
in the south.
Yeah, in the south. No.
just in case there's a Mad Max.
I mean, what
Okay.
is that?
Mad
It
Max?
doesn't
Mad
look like a
Max.
parking lot. There's
Shannon
no
said
lines.
it's the Kentucky Fairgrounds.
Oh, interesting.
She
So
might
I
be
guess
kidding.
they rented it out.
She might be right, but she might be kidding.
She might be kidding.
So you're like the 20 millionth
Kentucky
person, Dream Sweat, who's asked me about putting chapters in the podcast.
Oh my
I love
god!
how that guy
I
says
know.
that. Now
in the
that
chat.
Steve, now that he's retired, can you, after 20 years, can you finally? You know?
First of all, I got another month, so hold your horses.
yeah, chill out.
The reason that we've looked into every now and then I look into doing that. The thing is, doing that is an Apple thing, and the last time I checked, you can't do that on a PC. But I'll
we're
check
wrong,
again.
let us
Ian,
know.
correct me if I'm wrong.
There was something last time we looked into it. Libsyn didn't support it.
Libsyn doesn't. Our media host doesn't
So
support
it's
it.
like
It's not our
I don't
fault.
know what to do. Like, but I don't know what they. I don't know. We'll have to look into it deeper.
Here's another suggestion. Listen to the whole fucking podcast.
There you go. Don't skip
No, you're
nothing.
interpreting his question
Live
wrong.
it
He wants to.
half
He
speed.
wants to send people a
I know,
segment.
I know.
A segment, Steve. A part of the show. That a segment is not the whole show. It's a part of the show.
Don't we put segments on YouTube or something?
I mean, we put the whole thing on YouTube,
Yeah.
and you can send them the.
Can we
the
put chapters on
version
You
YouTube?
could.
with-
You could send them the. If you
the
right
link.
click on the timeline, you could send them that
Right.
from that moment on.
Look,
Yeah.
Evil Critter says she worked on that film. Wow, that's really
This
cool.
film here?
No, on Land of the Dead, the last basically one of the last big zombie movies from
You did?
George Romero.
You
yeah.
worked on it?
Land of the
that's
Dead.
freaking
Cool. That's really
awesome.
cool.
I mean, we need to talk. I want to hear all about that.
That's cool. All right, let's jump around to some other things. Curing cancer has been a bit popular thing on
Have we
TikTok.
cured cancer yet?
This guy seems to have figured it out now. Like a little.
Is it the cancer cure they're keeping us
warning.
from?
Yeah, I don't know. This guy apparently has colon cancer, so
Okay.
he's doing a fast,
Oh yeah.
which is a whole thing.
Day
So
32 of
Stage
40
4.
with no
Shit, man.
food and attempts to beat stage 4 colon cancer. Oncologist gave me less than 6 months, and no oncologist will pretty much listen to what I want to do with my body when it comes down to the treatment. So we had to take matters into our own hands. So, I feel good today, a lot better than yesterday. There's ups and downs to this journey, man, I'll tell you. Patience is usually run pretty thin in these late days. But we'll make it through. 1 week to go. 1 week to go.
So no solids. No solids.
he's basically not. He was on a water fast too and a food fast. So I'm like, he's basically starving himself. So like this part, it's sad because it's like you don't know. Like obviously, if you have colon cancer, stage 4, it's
Yeah, I think. Listen, I
you know
never
what I mean.
get judgmental about people
Of
with
course.
cancer. Right? Cancer is very scary. Obviously,
Mm-hmm.
it's a serious illness, potentially life-threatening for many, many people. And people are going to do when you're facing that.
Mm-hmm.
Having spoken with people, including people I know personally, not just professionally, who like have that diagnosis, any terminal diagnosis. It's like you're on the other side of a wall.
Mm-hmm.
You're separated from everybody else. Like your whole perspective on existence changes. So you can't fault anybody for trying anything.
I don't. As long
out
as
of-
you're using real medicine.
well, I don't
even
blame
still,
them.
yeah.
I blame people who market woo to them.
Right.
What I do recommend is recognize when you have a situation like that, it will make you desperate, and
Sure.
just use other people to sort of keep you grounded in reality. But that's also why you have professionals like whose job it is to be your reality check, right? Because you're in a very vulnerable emotional state.
Yeah.
You need somebody who has the professional distance to be able to say, listen, this is what the evidence says. This is what I recommend. This is your best course of action. In terms of starving, so one thing that's interesting, just as a general principle, I'm not saying that don't starve yourself when you have cancer. That's not healthy. But, cancer needs nutrients too, right? And they're actually very metabolically active. And so there's a lot of things where, like, if there is this concept of trying not to feed the cancer and in fact trying to starve the cancer. So like taking multivitamins or certain vitamins may actually be a bad thing in cancer because they're more limited by a low vitamin level than your other normal cells are, right? Because again, they're very highly metabolically active. So there is something conceptually to the notion of starving a cancer, or not overfeeding a cancer. But that's a delicate balance, and you've got to do that under supervision with, in an evidence-based way. Like just fasting, is probably not a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably more detrimental than
It's
helpful.
probably could be more detrimental than helpful because at the same time, also, you're trying to support your immune system to fight the cancer too. If you're starving your immune system at the same time you're starving the cancer,
Yeah.
you need to, and there's intuitively you just can't intuit like what the best balance is or what the best approach is,
Right.
or which nutrients are most important or whatever. But you can't just talk to your oncologist. I'm sure they have very informed opinions about what you should do nutritionally to maintain your health while not feeding the cancer.
Right.
Right. If that's your goal.
And even then, chances are it's not going to get rid of the cancer.
You're nibbling around the edges, right? You're just trying
Yeah.
to give yourself the best chance. It's not a cure. It's not a treatment for the cancer per se. It's all a numbers game, though.
Yeah, could it tip you over into remission? Maybe potentially.
We do things like if something gives you a 20% chance of survival versus a 15% chance of survival, then do it. Like something that's reasonable. But that's like what we're talking about, in many cases, is just trying to tick the odds in your favor a little bit, Like chemotherapy for if you're a woman, you have breast cancer, you get the cancer surgically removed, and then maybe you get radiation therapy. But like the chemotherapy doesn't treat the cancer. It just improves your odds of it not returning. And like you're starting at like 15% chance of recurrence, and that brings it down to like 5%. That's what it's doing.
That's absolutely worth it.
But of course, it's totally worth it. But that's why some people's like, oh, I didn't get chemotherapy. I did this alternative bullshit instead. It's like, okay, that doesn't mean because you haven't had the recurrence doesn't mean that it worked. You had an 85% chance of not having a recurrence with nothing anyway.
Yeah. Right.
All you did was just forego knocking it down to a 5% chance, or whatever the precise numbers are. But that's the right order of magnitude there.
Well, so the reason I think somebody tagged us in this is this next video, which is after this one, and we'll see what he says about this because it kind of takes a little bit of a twist, but we'll see.
You will not believe what happened to me today. This morning I made a video and it was about how I had a bowel movement, and after doing some research, I am pretty darn sure that tumor came out of me today. The fact that, it's roughly around 5 inches in diameter, and for how kind of thin it is, the amount that came out of me would definitely be the amount of the tumor. And the fact that I didn't feel any pain like I normally do, since I've had previous times when there was blood in my stool, this one feels like it is complete. So, I praise God that He has removed this tumor from me.
Uh-oh.
And God has truly healed me.
So he gets into like all this other kind of shit, whatever.
So this was his latest video?
This was one of his latest videos. So it's like, this is one that somebody was tagging us. I know about like, now he's kind of like switching it up to be like, I cured my cancer.
Right.
Is he on the grift of,
But
or,
this is the pattern that we see, right? So you get diagnosed, it's scary as shit, you get the initial round of treatment, and then you're just waiting to see what happens, right?
Yeah.
And that's when people do the crazy woo stuff. And then, but they're in the sort of the honeymoon phase, right? Where they've debulked the tumor. If you had the surgery or whatever, you had the treatment for it, and then they say that I'm cured. The cancer is gone. I'm saying, okay. So first of all, we don't know that. We don't know what's going to happen in 5 years, right? We want to see what's your 5-year survival, what's your 10-year survival, how does that compare to the baseline? But also, we don't hear from the people who are dead, right? It's the whole dead men tell no tales thing. It's survivor bias or whatever. Is that the people who do the crazy shit and then they have a good outcome make videos and say how their crazy shit that they did is what they credit with the cure. The people who didn't do well, we never hear from again.
I mean, but he didn't poop out the tumor.
No, of course not.
So this guy's
he may have pooped out something that was related to the tumor, but
like a blood clot or something.
Or dead tissue or whatever. But it's not like the tumor is, the colon is the tumor. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So
right.
anyway.
But, again, that's why you have to control for variables. You have to do statistical analysis. You need lots of whatever. This kind of anecdotal stuff, you can't make any conclusions from it.
Right.
But of course, the other emotional motivation here is, so you have somebody who, like, in their desperation, does something which sounds stupid or crazy, right? And then they're doing well. They want to justify their decisions now. They want to see everyone who doubted me, I'm doing well because I did this crazy thing.
Yeah.
And of course, if they're not doing well, they're silent, right?
Yeah.
They don't want to say anything.
And it's reinforced, as you can see, 130,000 likes on this.
Yeah.
The comments are all very like.
And what are you going to talk harsh a guy who's
of course
a cancer
not.
survivor?
No.
Like it's it's an emotional
not.
blackmail practically.
Yeah, exactly. So it's
just not how we should
really,
do science.
Yeah,
I'm not. And again, I gotta reserve my doubts. Like, I don't know if this guy even has colon cancer.
Well, there was
There's
the
always
the
that.
apple cider vinegar story, right? You got the Australian girl who pretended to have cancer.
Yeah.
So they're in the mix as
It
well.
happens.
People that they never had cancer. Maybe they were honestly were misdiagnosed, or they got diagnosed by a crank through pseudo methods. You know what I mean? Right? It's really easy to cure somebody of a disease they don't have in the first place. So you make a fake diagnosis and you give a fake treatment to treat the fake diagnosis, and of course it works because they never had anything in the first place.
Yeah.
But all of that is happening. That's why these anecdotes are worthless. We need to confirm the cancer. We need to control the variables and track the outcomes objectively. That's how we know what works and what doesn't work. This kind of stuff is emotional, but it's worse than worthless. It tends to lead us to conclusions which are not true, which we want to be true, but are probably not true.
Yeah.
Right. So.
Yeah, it just sucks. It sucks when you see someone in the throes of one of this type of life crisis and they're completely swallowed by pseudoscience. I mean, it's a terrible thing to see. But again, I agree with Steve. Like, when you're that desperate, it's like you gotta tone down your like, you're a skeptic and you see it, but you gotta kind of understand where they're at.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Survivor
Ryan.
bias, by the way, doesn't mean that survivors are biased. I think this is probably a joke, but just to clarify.
Right.
It just means that the outcome is biased by those who survive.
Yeah.
Right.
So the people who don't survive are not there to be recorded as data.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a survivor bias in the data. It's also like it comes up in many contexts. It's like, I never wore a seatbelt when I was young and I'm alive. I'm fine. It's like, yeah, but because all the people who didn't survive are not here to tell their story, right?
Right.
Ryan, thank you very much.
Yeah,
for
Ryan,
that.
thank you. SGU helped escape medical pseudoscience. I once believed Kevin Trudeau's natural cure is nonsense.
Oh, Kevin
years
Trudeau.
ago.
That guy's a con artist.
That guy, yeah. he's
And
done
also
a lot of-
Patrick, you're welcome. Thank you. You're welcome.
You're welcome.
And Evil Critter, very cool. Working on a new Netflix series.
Ooh, with
Ooh,
Josh
building
Hartnett.
sets. I'd
Hey.
love to see some.
Yeah,
see
me too.
those sets.
Heartthrob. All right, speaking of another pseudoscience.
Uh-oh.
We need more pseudoscience.
More pseudoscience. I don't know if you guys saw this. So this is revealed footage from shortly or during the OceanGate
Yeah. Yep.
disaster.
What
if you
was
wanna call
that?
it Let's see.
About
Transceiver head moves around.
400 meters to go.
Yeah. It should be about
Is this real?
500
Yeah.
meters, 30. What was that thing?
What's an implosion?
Right, she was there live.
there's another angle. I don't think
Yeah,
I
where-
actually have it.
Hi.
Hold on, let me go to the other angle here, where it has the other guys in the shot. So that was a bang. You can kind of hear it.
I didn't hear it.
It's a little just like low, fi,
It's quick. It's just,
low frequency. You're right about
Yeah.
here,
Yeah. We should be about 5
Yeah,
minutes.
that was the sound of your husband dying.
right there.
Unfortunately.
Boom. I don't know if you could hear that little boom.
No, it's all right.
so how long until she knew he was gone?
I remember it was days.
Yeah,
but
if you remember, there was like a countdown timer that CNN was doing in terms of the oxygen left in the tank.
But
Or,
I remember
after it left
an
in-
expert saying
That's not
they're
happening.
dead.
Yeah, they're definitely
He's like
dead.
that bang
Yeah.
is not a good.
That was just
sign.
media like sensationalizing,
Yeah.
probably like, oh, they'll find him. But if you look at this guy, they kind of know. They like look at each other like,
Yeah.
there.
You think those people died instantly?
Oh yeah, no.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
no, I think it's
Actually,
definitive.
quicker than that. How quicker
Yeah.
than instantly? It was
Beyond
like
instant.
fast.
Faster than their nervous system could have
They
acknowledged
felt
what was
nothing.
happening.
If you got to go,
It was just
that's a fast way to go.
It was like the end of The Sopranos. Just cut the black.
So do you think if like 1 minute before it imploded, if they started to ascend,
Then yeah,
Maybe it just depends on even if they started to ascend, the pressure would still be pretty
Intense.
tough.
but they got
for
to
a
the
while.
critical point. I mean, yeah, it depends. Was their fatigue working, and was it going to go?
Worth a shot. I mean,
it's so screwed up. That whole thing. I mean, it's like not only is it like a scary nightmare for anyone.
It was
who's
incompetence,
claustrophobic.
and
Yeah,
it was malfeasance.
absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
From
the
the-
guy thought, oh, I'm going to make
dumbass.
this on the cheap, and I'm going to make this design, foregoing the usual standards. This is why we have standards. This is why expertise matters. You can't shoot from the hip when you're building a deep sea submarine. This is what happens, right? Absolutely. By the way, Linda, I didn't go to Naples yet. Actually, my Italy trip is in the middle of July. And actually, we're not going to Naples now. We're going straight to Sicily. My wife's conference is in Sicily. And a flight, there was no flight into Sicily. We had to fly into Naples, but some airline just created a flight
Oh, good.
Well, that's
straight to Sicily, so we're just going straight to Sicily.
Oh, is that good or bad?
Good.
Yeah,
Good to go straight to. Well, yeah, we spend the week in Sicily, and then she has a conference at the end.
Why don't you just spend 2 weeks there? I mean, you're retired, man.
Because we have responsibility.
I'll take care of the
have a
dog.
kid.
I'll watch the dog.
There's a banana plant in the backyard.
Just don't go
I'll have to
anywhere
water
near
my banana
Etna.
plants.
There's a documentary also that just came out. Yeah, you should watch the documentary, or not, but just came out, but it's out.
1 week vacation's good.
All right, let's move on.
They were
So
ascending?
this one,
what is happening?
it's Pride Month.
Okay.
Andrew Huberman, if you know this
Huberman.
guy, he's got some interesting takes on things.
Hey, man, his neck
Stuff.
is not big enough.
His neck is not big enough. He's I think a notable neuroscientist guy, kind of. I think.
Really?
Yeah, that's what his claim is. Let's listen to what he has to say.
Want to hear some wild data on homosexuality and
Yeah.
hormones? Okay, so years ago when I was a graduate student at Berkeley, I was part of a study, I wasn't the main author, that looked at finger length ratios and homosexuality in men and women and how much testosterone was in utero. Now, I don't want anyone to freak out and just start staring at their fingers, but because it has to be measured correctly. All right. So if you hold up your right hand, like I'm holding up my right hand, my ring finger here is a little bit longer than my pointer finger. Let me
Okay.
see.
Which one's a ring finger?
Your ring finger is a little bit longer than your pointer finger.
Yeah.
Okay. That is the typical heterosexual male pattern.
Okay.
Now, people are going to be like, this is bullshit. Listen, this has been replicated more than 5 times in humans. Okay. This pointer finger is smaller than the ring finger. Okay. It's called the D2 to D4 ratio. Scientists are super nerdy. If you look at gay men that identify as gay, that difference is much more pronounced. It's directly related to how much testosterone you were exposed to in utero when you were in your mommy's belly.
Can I put this hand down? Yeah.
So yeah, you can put that hand down. Gay men have a hyper male pattern. That the the pointer finger tends to be relatively shorter than the ring finger. Yeah, there
Ooh,
you go. Okay.
fuck.
Okay, so
My shit's close.
no. It's a very small difference in everyone. But
Okay.
but in gay men, it tends to be much greater. Now,
So in the gay man, the pointer finger is a little bit more shorter than the ring finger.
correct.
Wow. Ooh, that's gay.
Ratio.
That's how he ends it.
That's just Theo Vaughn's. a
So my
dumbass.
understanding is, I haven't looked at that recently, but that's true.
Yeah, there is like
The finger
some
length thing
science to it.
in terms of like the hormones in the womb when you were developing, The data does support that.
Well, he was relating it to testosterone, though.
Oh, well, I'm not sure.
specifically.
That may be the case. Yeah.
So this has nothing to do with the chakra, right?
Nothing with the
No,
shock.
so this
Yes, this is like from the 90s. You
Yeah.
guys remember
Yeah.
hearing about that?
I vaguely remember.
The implication, though, is that testosterone causes homosexuality, right?
Yeah.
That's the obvious
Yeah.
implication
Yeah.
there. But what does science say about that specifically?
Yeah, absolutely.
Ian,
All right.
Yeah.
which one of these is my hand?
Yeah.
Guy doesn't know his ring finger.
That's Theo Von's kind of whole shtick. I mean, he is kind of a dumbass, which is fun. But it's,
So this-
it's his
So your
whole shtick.
pointer finger is shorter.
Yeah, this finger is shorter than your ring finger. Right?
But
This
it's a
is,
lot
this is
short-
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's 2 to 4, right?
So it's a lot shorter than your. Let me
But
see your hands.
It would be more. It
in
would be
homosexual
shorter.
males, the difference
So
is
my
greater.
ring finger's longer compared to my pointer finger
Yeah,
than
that's
yours.
correct.
Yeah.
Compared
Yeah.
to
Okay.
Whatever. So again, you can't
I
just
don't
do
know.
that and say, "Oh, I'm gonna, you
Right.
have to measure it."
Wouldn't you?
It's
But wouldn't you know? When you're-
Statistical.
Wouldn't you? Know what your sexuality
Yes,
is?
your
though?
sexual
I mean, you don't need to
orientation,
look
you
at your
should know.
freaking hand.
Could be.
But it's a whole thing. But yeah,
little
so I
thing.
mean, the idea again, there's no gay gene. There
Yeah.
are genes that sort of statistically are associated with the probability of whatever, but it has a lot to do with birth order and also with the environment, the hormonal environment of the womb.
Why does birth
Absolutely.
order matter?
Probably because that affects the hormonal environment of the womb.
Okay. So
And it depends on whether or not like your mother had male or female children before you.
Oh wow.
But it's all statistical.
He says,
Like,
"What about
it's not
bisexuals?"
determinative?
Ooh.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's bisexual invisibility. I'm sorry.
But there is something there. There is something there, right?
Okay.
And but the bottom line is that sexual orientation is biological.
Hello.
It's biological. It's not.
Right.
It's not
Not
just videos you
choice.
see on
It's
the
not
internet.
cultural.
Not cultural. You don't turn gay, whatever.
And you
You're
can't turn it off
basically
either.
born
But
with your
what?
sexual orientation, right? And then of course, it develops as you develop, as you mature and go through puberty and whatever, and it may change in that way. But basically, what your arc of your life of sexual orientation is going to be is pretty much determined biologically
Yeah.
at birth.
I perfectly don't care what anybody's sexual orientation. It's
Right.
like I marvel at the fact that trans people have been turned into the big bad guy. I saw this. I think I said this before, guys. Like I saw a visual representation of
Yeah.
how many trans people there are in sports.
It's negligible.
So
it's
so
a-
they did it
two.
via cans, right?
right.
So there was like, you see these 50,000 cans like stacked up behind like a person, right? And like the trans in sports was like less than a can.
yeah.
And yet this is on,
Yeah.
certain news stations almost every day.
It's a deliberate
That's a
culture
different-
war. It has been manufactured deliberate, and it worked. It freaking worked. It is deliberate culture war because it's trying to, make people outraged at how unfair it all is. But the thing is, it's a complicated issue, and the sports world is figuring it out pretty well. Actually,
Right.
Yeah, that's right.
they're not doing a bad job. And like most things, there's a reasonable, nuanced kind of answer in the middle. Yeah, there are some people who do not fall cleanly into any simplistic male-female split, and we have to figure out what to do with them in competitive sports at different levels in different sports and whatever. And they're kind of working it out detail by detail, and it's fine. And maybe you could argue that in this particular case, it should have been nudged a little bit this way or that way or whatever, fine. But the idea that like these countless women are being harmed by, by male athletes that are pretending
Yeah,
to be
it's
women
just-
is
it's
just,
just
that's
crazy.
just pure fear-mongering,
Yeah.
culture war
Like,
bullshit.
focus on the class war more than
Yeah.
the culture war.
And I saw a recent
Yes, Bob.
recent news item where they're like, here is this trans woman in like a competition,
Yeah.
and she did not come in first or second or third. You know what I mean? They were just
Yeah.
showing like, basically. And you look at the muscle mass. That's what I did when I looked at the picture of her lined up with all the other women. I'm like, she's got the least amount of muscle mass of all of them.
So, listen, we could talk about the facts and then, how we translate those facts into meaningful policy. So it is absolutely true that males on average, biological males have greater muscle mass than biological females. They also have greater lung capacity and they have different limb ratios and whatever. There's different things that could be an advantage in certain sports. Absolutely. No one denies that. That's just biological fact. But it's also true that if you take, cross hormones, you lose like 80% of that muscle mass advantage. Not 100%, but you lose like 80% of it after a year or 2 years.
So you
right?
still have a little
So
advantage.
in some sports, they're like, okay, well, you have to be on cross hormones, or you have to be on testosterone
TRT.
blockers and on estrogen for 1 year or 2 years or whatever, and in order to be eligible as a trans woman to play in this female league, which is fine.
Reasonable.
And and so that's, but then some people say, well, if it's not 100%, then it's not fair. It's like, well, come on. At this point, you're down into the variability from
Of
just
humans.
all kinds of other factors as well. But again, there's no right or wrong answer there. But again, if you want to make like this fear-mongering point about it, you can. But, and again, it matters more in some sports than in others, right? So, we just have to, and there's no perfect answer. There is no perfect answer when it comes to sports.
But
What
this
about
being,
chess, finger length?
yeah,
If
right.
you have
Steve?
a little finger length advantage, you can move the pieces faster. How about
There was, I have to say, like, there was this one study. It was a terrible study, and it got cited by, the UN, some panel in the UN, and then it gets spread out, and then even a prominent skeptic threw this in my face as if this was a reliable source of information.
Is that the UK study that came out?
And I think so. And it basically was like, trans women in sports have cost female athletes like 800
CAS
medals.
review, that's what it is.
Yeah,
Right?
800.
not the CAS report. This is about sports.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, and then, but the thing is that, first of all, it's not sourced, right? And if you look at their methods, they included things like chess.
Yeah.
Chess. So being a trans female gives you an advantage in chess. They also counted it. So if a trans woman got a gold medal, they counted everyone with a medal as a right. So not just the gold medal, but also the silver should have had gold, and the bronze should have had silver, and the person who didn't get anything should have had bronze. So that's that's 3 people then.
Right.
that got
Just
place.
adding.
And they also they double counted and whatever. And this was all done by an anti-trans group, like a completely biased group.
They're trustworthy.
So it was terrible methodology.
But-
they don't even say like over what length of time and what leagues are they counting. Just completely terrible
So
science.
this
It was just
unnamed-
feeding into the anti-trans political machine.
This unnamed prominent skeptic who
Completely failed to vet the source.
who threw this in your face.
Yeah.
And you don't want to tell us who this person is?
I don't want to tell you that it's Michael Shermer. No.
Well, why wouldn't? Why
Okay.
just tell me who it is?
Just don't say it. Just don't say
You're
it.
not going to tell me.
No.
Didn't vet the
Keep
source.
Keep it to yourself.
Didn't vet the source. Said it was like, this is the UN, Steve. This is the UN. It's like, no, it's not the UN. It's an anti-trans group with a completely horrible methodology. This is political, just
Bullshit.
kindling. Yeah, this is
It's bullshit.
anyway.
Anyway, that's that. Anyway, happy Pride. Fuck the haters. Here we go. So speaking of Pride, comparing rainbows. Should we do that?
Yes.
You want to do a general discussion
I thought
or
we
a
were going to do
TikTok?
this as a TikTok.
We could do it as a TikTok, but Bob wants to talk
Bob
about
wants-
it too.
Bob wants in on it.
Okay, we also have the grand conspiracy, the alcohol.
Alcohol.
And let me see. Was there anything else that I missed? I don't remember if we missed any. We did America. Tesla is a lie. That was the same thing. Rainbows and Pride.
You
Do
should have
Tesla
did
exist?
America. It shouldn't be America. It's got to be
Okay,
America.
All right.
And then when it gets worse, it turns into Erica.
Erica. And then Rika.
I have to say, we were going to do Will It Bread today, but we ate all the bread before the show.
sure did.
so
We have a good
sorry.
one coming up next week.
People were
though.
complaining that we were
Family
chewing
favorite.
the mic, and so we ate it all of it. No, I'm just kidding. We didn't even actually do the bread. We'll do it next week.
All right, who
All
is
right.
this? Why does this guy have a body? What happened to him?
So this is so we should get set up for the tickety talks. I guess we could do it. We could actually do it like this. We'll do a vertical version. Let me start recording, and then we'll listen to it. Start. Is that recording? That's recording.
What's happening?
We're gonna do this, and then Bob, just tell me when you want me to show those photos. I have them in order that you sent. I think this
But
and then this.
The second one is the big rainbow. The first one is the graph of the.
First one
Yes,
is
that's
this.
first. That's
Okay.
first. I'll give you.
All right, yeah, just give me a heads up. Just so
Yep.
all right, let's.
Oh, we can do it now.
Yeah, well, right? You
Yeah,
want to do it
yeah,
now?
do
We don't
the
need to
three of
change the
us.
setup anyway. All right, here we go.
Notice how tiny and small the rainbows are in Australia? My boy Lyndon took this video in Australia, and you can just see how tiny the arch is on the rainbows in Australia. Isn't that super interesting? Because this is what a rainbow looks like in Vancouver, Canada. This one's in Ontario that I took a while ago, and you can see like how massive this rainbow is. They are huge in Canada. Now let's take a look at what your loving government has told you. This is how rainbows are created, guys. Bah. The sun rays hit the raindrops. It refracts twice, and then the observer sees the rainbow. Now that's interesting because in order for us to scientifically create a rainbow, like actually use real science, create a rainbow inside, we need sunlight, we need water, and an object that can act as a prism. So where's the prism here? We got sunlight, we got water, but where's the prism? Now, if this is really what's happening here, guys, how is it that Australia's rainbows are like this, and then Canada's rainbows are like this? It's almost as if there is a prism of some sorts, and maybe that prism is higher in Canada than it is in Australia.
Listen up, Chucklehead. First, put your shirt on. Okay? Thank you. Second of all, this guy apparently never was a kid in his backyard with a hose.
Right?
Because I've
Oh my
been
God.
creating rainbows my entire freaking life.
Yeah.
You gotta
If you read the comments, like 20 people said that in the comments. Like,
Right.
dude,
So-
hose, water, rainbow.
I know. I mean, you
So-
can almost do it at any time of day.
Yeah.
All right. But what's the facts, the science
Tell us,
behind
Bob.
this?
Tell
All right.
us.
All right. So a rainbow is the true form of a rainbow is it's circular, right? It's not really a bow. It's a kind of like a rain circle.
Yes.
So why
Well,
are
that
you
we're seeing part of it.
right? So why are you? We're only seeing part of it. So why is that? It's because the rest of the rainbow is below the horizon. Okay.
But
so
it's not really there, though.
It's yes, it is there. It is there, but you can't see it because basically the Earth is blocking it. If you went up higher, you would see the rain circle. Okay.
Well, wait. But first, the rainbow itself is very dependent on your location, your personal location.
Everyone has their own personal rainbow. Nobody is seeing quite the rainbow that you were seeing because you're in the position you're in is the reason why you're seeing that rainbow.
Yeah, because it's all about the angle, right? So that's why it's essentially a circle. That's the point at which the light rays are refracting through the raindrops to hit your eye, and of course they're spreading out because the raindrops are acting like a prism, right? The water's the prism. You don't need a separate prism above it.
But the key, though, though, and for this specific video is the middle of that circle is the anti-solar point.
Right.
And the reason why you're seeing only part of the rainbow is because that middle of the rainbow, the anti-solar point, is below the horizon. Why is it below the horizon? Because the sun is above the horizon. So imagine if you draw a line from the sun through your eyes to the center of the rainbow. If the sun is above the horizon, that straight line is going to have to be below the horizon.
Sure.
So a chunk of the rainbow is below the horizon. Now, if you went onto a mountain or in a plain, then that anti-solar point will be above the horizon, and you'll see the whole thing.
On the same exact moment. Someone on the ground will see a partial rainbow, and someone way up in the air will see a full rainbow.
Yeah. Right, exactly. So that's the key. Is this anti-solar point? You're on the ground. You're going to see it's going to be at least half. It's going to be or more. Is going to be below. Is going to be below that horizon. So that's the critical thing that he's missing. And him bringing in this dome being the prism is just like mind blowing. Yeah, Evan, if you can show that first.
Ian.
Ian. Oh, boy. Fuck. Sorry, man.
All good.
Hey, Frank, can you bring up that image,
Frankie
please?
D.
Thanks, Frank.
Thanks, Frank. So you could see the anti-solar point there is going to be below the horizon. You're seeing a piece of it. So the lower the sun is, the more of that semicircle that you're going to see.
Sure.
But if the sun gets above 42 degrees, you're just going to see the very top, or you're not going to see the rainbow at all because the sun is too high, and the anti-solar point.
That's too freaking high.
The anti-solar point is so far below the horizon that you can't even see it.
It just occurred to me that you might not see most of the rainbows that are occurring around you because they're too low.
Sure, absolutely. If the sun's high in the sky, so if you live on the equator and
there's no angle that will give you the visual rainbow.
So and then the other thing, he showed an image of a rainbow in Antarctica. So I think if this guy spent more time, actually Googling two words instead of taking his shirt off and saying every 20 seconds, he should have Googled two words, and then he would have had a real moment, and this is what he would have seen, like I did today. That's a rainbow in Antarctica. Why is it so big? Because the sun is probably just rising.
Bob,
or
that was
just
faked by NASA.
Or just
Come on.
If you don't trust reputable sources, there's nothing I can do to help you.
They faked that 20 years ago, in order to debunk this guy's crazy
Right.
theory that he was going to come out with today or whenever that was.
You know,
Right.
how-
So it's all about it's primarily about the elevation of the sun.
Yeah.
This is very close to the horizon sun. So you're seeing almost a half of a full half of the rain circle because the sun is so low.
So this is a thing that happens. It doesn't happen that often, but when I get the opportunity to see a real rainbow, and we saw one on our
Yeah.
vacation, by the way, I know exactly what it is, but it still blows my mind.
still beautiful.
It's still
It's a beautiful
beautiful,
natural
right?
phenomenon.
It's just such a cool
It's
thing.
so wonderfully
This-
complex, primary and secondary bows. And the reason, do you know why some are crisp and sharp and others are diffuse? It's all about the size of the rain particles and
Oh,
how
that
they're
makes sense.
distributed. That's the key part as to why it would be vivid and detailed as opposed to just kind of fuzzy and barely seen.
I had a really unusual, I don't even know if, I have not talked to anyone who experienced this before, but I was driving in a car on the highway. The sun was over here, and it rained. And I saw the end of a rainbow, and it was moving as my car moved. It was really cool because my perspective was moving, and I literally saw the end of the rainbow.
Because it
touching the
doesn't
ground.
exist.
Yeah,
it's not a physical thing out there in
exactly.
space.
Yeah.
It's just the way the light
It's
is
perspective.
refracting and
Right.
hitting your
Your
eyes.
you have your own personal rainbow. It's
Yeah.
it's fascinating
And this-
topic and complex and not intuitive in a lot of ways. So research it and enjoy the science of it, the real science of it, not this pseudoscience crap.
But also, this is a good example of, I think, confirmation bias. So this guy clearly just looked for information to support his crackpot theory and didn't do what you're supposed to do, which is look for disconfirming information.
Exactly.
Right? Or do some kind of objective survey. Right? He could have, if he had the slightest bit of curiosity or scientific thinking, just, Googled a bunch of pictures of rainbows, stratified them by latitude, and then see is there any correlation here with looking at a lot of data points, even blinded, it would have been a good way to do it. Instead, he just cherry-picked ones that fit his story, his narrative, and didn't take the 2 seconds it would have taken him to find one that completely blows his theory
And
out
what
of
does
the
he think?
water.
There's prisms in outer space?
No,
that
he
are-
thinks
It's a
that
firmament.
dome.
It's
the
just
dome is
creationist loser.
like the dome is the prism. He didn't really seem
Could
to
you imagine?
internalize
Which
it.
makes
The
no
water
sense.
is the prism. And even
So
if
if this guy isn't a Poe, for the rest of
No.
this guy's life,
I don't think he is.
I don't think he is either.
Doesn't
For the
matter.
rest of this guy's life, he is going to think that he's got one up on everyone about the rainbow,
Right.
and
Yeah.
this will be his thing. Imagine like you're talking to someone and they bring this up, like, oh my God, dude, please put your shirt on, go home, take a shower, and don't talk to me about rainbows ever again.
or use a hose. Have some fun with a hose, and maybe you might do a real
Right, Ian?
This is the only guy who should talk about rainbows.
All the way.
Double rainbow across the sky guy.
Double rainbow. Oh my God. It's a double rainbow all the way. Whoa. How high can you get? That's my question. Whoa, dude.
He looks like he's at elevation too.
I mean, I'm there with the guy, though, because I freak out when I see a rainbow. I think they're amazing.
It happens at just the perfect frequency where it's exciting every time it happens.
Right.
Yeah.
Good point. Good point.
Ian, listen to this guy.
Double. Look at that.
I love it. I love that.
And yeah, just like enjoy it, have fun, enjoy nature and science.
This is when the internet
That's
was
great.
good.
I love that enthusiasm.
I do, too. It's beautiful.
God, look at that. It's starting to even look like a triple rainbow.
Oh, forget it. That guy
Oh
would
my
just
God,
fall off
it's
the mountain
full.
if he saw three
right.
rainbows.
Full
Come
on.
on. Double rainbow all the way across the sky.
I want to make a website just for this video.
15 years, 51 million views. Pretty good.
That's awesome.
Very
man.
popular.
51 million.
You know, and I'll tell you why 51 million people ended up watching this, because his enthusiasm and in that spiritual moment, you can hear it in his voice, and it's great.
Yeah.
It's just great to hear someone like, I don't care what the guy believes. Like, to him, it was beautiful. It blew his mind away, and I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
We need more of that, not less.
2010, simpler times. All right.
Back in the before time.
Back in the before. All right, let me save that one.
And just for the record, that was the first time I ever saw that.
Of that meme?
I don't know how. I missed it. But
Oh, did you hear the song? You must have heard the song where the...
Really? You've never saw the double rainbow guy before?
Who's Chewbacca Mask Lady?
Oh, my God. That's another vintage
What?
one.
Let's see
You
it
don't
right
remember that
now.
one?
I want to see it right now.
Chewbacca Mask Mom original.
I already love it. I haven't even seen it.
It's a classic.
Hey,
Hey.
I'm really excited to share with you something I got. Okay, I went to Kohl's today. I had to make a couple returns. Stuff didn't fit. Surprisingly, it was a little too big. Thank you. I know some of you may be thinking the opposite. Shame. No shame. It's all love. It's all love. Okay, so here's what I found when I was at Kohl's. And I'd like to say that I bought this for my son that would really, really want it. And let's be honest, he'll probably confiscate it from me.
How long is the show gonna
Confiscate.
be?
That's a
Keep
word,
going.
right? Okay, so he'll probably take it from me. However,
Until then.
this is mine. Like, when it's said and done, at the end of the day, this is mine that I bought. And
Okay.
I'm going to keep it for my own. You can see it kind of has Star Wars. Oh, you're getting a little hint. Okay, so you want to see what I got? It's so great. I can't wait to show you. Okay. This is part of my birthday joy. Still rejoicing in my
Let me skip
Wow.
ahead to
Is this an unboxing
naturally.
video?
Yeah, it's an
Okay,
unboxing
here.
video. Let me just skip.
So, yes! Now
Oh my
watch
God, the
when
jaw
my
moves.
mouth actually
Yeah.
moves.
I knew she'd do the voice. I
No,
love it.
The mask is doing
The
the
mask
voice.
is doing it.
Oh,
That's not me making that noise.
Are
it's
you
the
kidding?
mask. Here, listen.
The speaker's in the forehead.
yeah, I see it now. That's actually pretty damn cool.
That's pretty cool.
The laughing Chewbacca. I love it. Love it.
That is adorable.
She's still laughing. Oh my God, it's awesome.
It's classic, dude.
Oh, I'm such a happy Chewbacca.
That's a cool mask.
That's adorable.
Oh,
I vaguely
this
remember. I think my
is
son had that
worth
mask for a long
every
time.
Yeah.
penny.
Yeah, I've seen that mask before.
Yeah, it's good. It's a classic.
Oh
meme.
man,
That's
that's
funny
actually.
as shit,
when she
man.
first had that, I thought, oh, it's one of those totally old school plastic masks. But no, it's actually got some tech behind it.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's move on. We'll
Ah.
get some actual TikToks.
Good,
do you want?
good.
Wait, there's the Grand Conspiracy, Grand
Who
Canyon
could
Conspiracy.
ridicule her? I mean, come on.
I know.
Losers.
God.
So,
People
so
with
much
sad and
negativity
empty
out there.
lives that they have to make fun
Right.
of people on the internet.
Just
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
make them feel a little
now
bit
let's
better.
make fun of this.
Now let's make
dipshit
fun
on
of
the
the
internet. Yeah. Should we? We're all gonna do the Grand Conspiracy,
Talk
right?
shows.
Yeah. We're talking
Bob, we're those assholes.
podcasts.
We are those assholes. That's all we do here.
We're nice assholes.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, here we go.
Holy
Stan.
These fucking
These
guys.
fucking
Oh,
guys.
God.
Oh, is this-
Wait, where's
is this
my
the
These
Grand
Fucking
Canyon
Guys
dude?
Video. Yeah, this is the.
What's that thing in front of him?
No, I'm doing this as a TikTok.
Oh, we're doing this separate. Okay. What about? I thought you guys were gonna do the alcohol one
We
together.
could
or
do
no?
Thorium.
Oh, right, Thorium. That
I
was
didn't.
one.
I didn't read up on that, so I'll leave you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I have nothing to contribute. I mean, I just know the basics. Steve's knows this, as usual, deep.
Well,
Deep
I got 2 topics to prep for tonight.
All right, so,
all right. So then we'll
cut
do.
these losers loose,
All right,
and I'll
bye,
do a couple of
everybody. Hey
TikToks.
guys, have a great week.
Bye, peoples.
Have a great
Bye-bye.
This was
weekend.
fun. Let's do it again. Maybe next week.
Maybe next week. That's what we're doing. We're playing out. And Bob's gonna
like
bread.
the Chewbacca lady and the rainbow guy.
Yeah.
Try to spread some love and happiness to the people that are around you. Right, Steve? I love you.
True.
Love you too, brother.
To the world.
I'll see
Get
you
the
tonight,
fuck
bro.
out.
The
Bob, I
world.
love you too. And Frank, I love you.
Oh, it's great. Happy to be here. Thank you. Say what? Oh yeah, I heard it. Okay, it's fine. All right, let's see. So we got. All right, go to just follow us on Instagram, by the way. Okay, so we got the Grand Conspiracy, we got the El Alcoholo one, and we have also the the thorium reactor. We will do right. You want to do those 3? Or we can just do 2. It's up to you if you don't want to do
Thorium, Grand Canyon.
There's the
and-
alcohol, something or other. Alcoholic gene, right? Or no?
The alcohol gene, yeah.
All right.
Yeah, those 3.
Those 3 will be good. All right. Stand by. Chat while I get the stuff ready.
Right. Now going to switch over to the TikTok configuration. Which cameras are going to be the middle one? This one. All right. All right. Did China just solve climate change?
China.
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 All right.
Let me fix this camera too a little bit so little squishy. Okay. Picture in picture. All right, there we go. All right, everybody, stand by as we
just play it long enough until he basically makes his
point. Okay.
Brings up thorium.
Okay. Let me full screen that. Here we go.
I think China just solved global warming. It's crazy. This is probably the most important news we've heard for the century even. So for the folks who don't know about this, so in China, they actually just completed a nuclear reaction of this new power plant they built. It's still a small pilot, but they're going to expand it, and it's a successful pilot. What they're doing is actually creating a new type of nuclear power plant. What's changed is that it's using something called thorium as a fuel. For the folks who don't understand nuclear reaction, essentially today, all the nuclear factories or generators, we use something called uranium to burn, to essentially create energy, right, to heat. And today, think of it this way, we're essentially, the fuel we have, they're raw, they're solid state. So think of it as like we're burning wood to generate heat and creating electricity, right? With thorium, which is the new technology, it's a new type of element essentially, and it's very easily accessible. It's actually in liquid form. So what it means is that these nuclear power plants.
Up until he says thorium, should I just cut it maybe?
Yeah.
Really not. We don't need much more than that.
Yeah, once he introduces the idea of thorium.
All right, here we go. And we're rolling.
Okay, so I guess we're talking about thorium reactors again. So listen, this is not new technology. I mean, everything the guy says in the video is, I guess, correct, but he's talking about it as if he's never heard of it before, and he gives a false impression that this is somehow new. Thorium reactor, technology has been around for decades, actually. India has a thorium reactor. And yeah, it just never took off using thorium as an alternative fuel cycle to uranium. And the standard reason I think is probably correct is mainly because the uranium cycle produces plutonium, which we need for our bombs, which is true. And many of the the nuclear reactors are military reactors. They're meant to create these byproducts for our nuclear weapons industry. But that aside, that issue aside, yeah, it's just an alternate fissile material cycle that you can use in order to generate heat and generate electricity. And there's a lot of advantages to thorium. It is overall safer. It doesn't produce as much spent nuclear fuel, and it doesn't produce the weaponizable spent nuclear fuel, or at least as easily weaponizable. So it's good for commercial nuclear power plants. So yeah, we've talked about this on my podcast, The Skeptic's Guide to the Universe, before. Would love to see companies develop thorium reactors. I'm happy that China is doing it. That's great. They're dramatically increasing the amount of energy that they're producing. They're now the number one, not per capita, but per country. They're the number one greenhouse gas emitter in the world. So sure, generate as much of electricity as you can through thorium reactors. The other thing that was brought up was the salt cooled reactors. Again, this is not a new technology. I mean, it's new in that we're now coming out with it. They didn't invent this technology. There are salt cooled designs that are already out there. In Wisconsin, there's a large nuclear reactor being built, the one that Bill Gates is financing. That is a salt-cooled reactor design. This is all the next-gen nuclear reactors, right? The Gen 4 nuclear reactors. Some can use a thorium cycle. Some can use salt cooling. They're designed to be safer, to produce less spent nuclear fuel. Some could use reprocessed nuclear fuel from older plants, which is good. And they're also going for small modular designs to try to make them more, to reduce the upfront cost. They're not actually more cost effective. The bigger plants are actually more cost effective in terms of electricity production per dollar that you put into it, but the upfront costs are billions. They could be very high. He brings up later on in the video this notion of electricity that's too cheap to meter. This is a claim that's also been around since what, the 50s, the 60s. That was sort of the original claim for nuclear power. It's going to produce so much energy so cheaply, it'll be too cheap to meter. Free electricity. Never happened. It's the one downside of nuclear power is that it's still relatively expensive compared to like renewables. I don't think it's more expensive if you consider the climate change angle of fossil fuels. And if you diverted some of those massive subsidies that we're giving to the fossil fuel industry to the nuclear power industry, that would go a long way to help mitigate global warming. So I do think we need nuclear in the mix. A lot of experts think that if we need to have every low carbon option on the table. And I hope that thorium comes into the mix. That's great. It is a totally viable technology. It just needs to be developed, right? We just need to fully develop the technology. So it's good that we have a demonstration plant in China. It's mostly, by the way, based upon they do say this in the video, open source information that was made open source by the US government. So again, this is sort of old technology, but you do have to bring it over the threshold, right? You have to make it at scale and cost effective enough and safe enough. And that's totally doable. Again, I seriously hope we start to see a lot of thorium reactors in the future. Can older nuclear power plants be modified to newer technology? I don't know. That's a good question. I guess it depends on what new technology, how much of a redesign. But the best newer designs are like a complete redesign of the power plant. So it's not something you can just plug into an existing one. Like the salt cooled, the whole one big advantage of them is that you don't have to have pressurized water. Keeping everything under pressure is a huge expense and a huge risk, of those plants. So being able to do with much lower pressure is a massive advantage.
All right, let's get rid of this guy. So you want to do the this thing, the alcoholic gene?
Yeah.
Okay. Here we go. Stand by.
Do you know why there's an alcoholic gene? It's there for a reason.
Mm-mm.
So you see the alcoholic gene more frequently, and you can call it the addict gene or the alcoholic gene, more frequently in populations where there's a lot of external pressure like violence and very extreme circumstances. So the Irish, Native Americans,
Russians,
yeah, just
lots of pressure there.
Under extreme
Ukrainians,
duress.
lots of pressure.
A lot of
there.
people getting killed. So the people who performed better under pressure tended to have the alcoholic gene. This is why all our top fighter pilots are in World War II and stuff were all alcoholics, and why like Audie Murphy, like the number one out of 11 million soldiers in World War II, he was the number one most decorated soldier, and they still have like Audie Murphy Day in the Army and stuff like that.
That's
totally an
addict.
addict.
That's a good place to cover.
You got to
just keep saying the same point over and over again. Is there an alcoholism, or what we would say now an alcohol use disorder gene? The answer is no. There is no single gene that determines certainly, or even has a dominant influence on whether or not somebody is susceptible to alcohol use disorder. Scientists have identified about 400 genes that have a statistical association with the risk of developing alcohol use disorder, and over like 500 and something different loci on those 400 genes. So yeah, nothing as complicated as a behavior like that is going to be a single gene, right? It's always going to be multiple genes. Most of those genes, by the way, are involved in the metabolism of alcohol, right? They influence the body's biochemistry, how we deal physically with the alcohol itself. They're not genes which influence our neurological function. But he brings up a hypothesis here that whether it's one gene or 400 genes or whatever, that some of those genes, let's say, if we try to put the best face on his claim as possible, that also predisposes people to being able to deal well with stress. So that doesn't hold up well to the evidence. In fact, the opposite is true, that people who have a lower ability to deal with stressful situations are more likely to have alcohol use disorder. That pretty much falsifies his hypothesis. It's the opposite of what's true. Essentially, that's because if you don't deal well with stressful situations, you are more likely to self-medicate with alcohol or to turn to alcohol as a way of dealing with that stress. People who are more resilient to stress are therefore less likely to use alcohol as a crutch, if you will, or whatever, to fall into alcohol use disorder as a response to the stress itself. And again, this is only looking at alcoholism or alcohol use disorder from one angle. You could also look at it from many other behavioral angles, such as executive function. Do people who have ADHD, are they more likely to have alcohol use disorder? Yeah, it turns out they are, probably because they have reduced executive function. And that would help you control strategically your impulses, your desires, or whatever, a long-term planning sort of thing. So psychological, neurological function is always complicated. There are many different things happening at the same time. There's neurological predispositions, but then they interact with the environment. That's the whole point of the brain, if you will, is to interact with the environment. So it's always going to be a complicated factor, looking at multiple, both biological and environmental factors. Any complicated behavior like alcohol use disorder or just addictive behavior or whatever. So no single gene. It's 400 genes that have been identified, or more or less that correlate with the risk of developing alcohol use disorder or addictive behavior. And no, it's not tied to increased resilience. In fact, the opposite's true. It's people with less stress resilience who are more likely to develop alcohol use disorder. So this guy is just making stuff up.
Well,
if only people knew how to use the internet.
Yeah,
Ian.
if only AI will fix all of that, and then they can get exactly what they want to hear.
Right. AI will just give you more confident misinformation.
Yeah, great. Oh God.
AI is a great tool. I use it all the time.
There's a lot of uses for it.
If you know how to use it, you know what strengths and weaknesses. It's just another tool.
Maybe not informing your opinion completely.
It's fine.
I'm
definitely concerned about, unchecked tech bros wanting to control the world with AI and authoritarians getting their hands on it. Again, it's a powerful tool that, like any tool, it could be used for good or for evil.
Plus, it's also a catch-all term of so many different things.
Yeah.
That we're just going. Anyway. All right. So let's get on to this next one. This final one is the Grand Conspiracy Canyon.
This fucking guy.
This fucking guy. All right, here we go.
We were talking about rocks and things. What about the Grand Canyon? I want to hear 5 minutes of things about the Grand Canyon, because that was all naturally formed, right? It's just a natural, everything about it's just normal, right?
Sure.
And 5 minutes begins now. So Chaz, the Grand Canyon.
So how far do we want to go? How deep, real quick?
As deep as you can.
So I would start off with the less fringe part of this that I've gone deeper into, and would say that it's clearly ancient as fuck. It has ancient shit all over it. It's been anciently quarried for giant megalithic stones. We have found more Egyptian based artifacts and mummies in the Grand Canyon than probably anywhere in the world.
Whoa.
Not the country, but yes, the country, but the world. We have found more mummies in our country than in Egypt. We sell them mummies to display. So we have places a part of the Grand Canyon that you can't go. You're not allowed to be there. They will kick your ass out in a heartbeat. We know there are caves that are giant. They're we're talking about city, Darren Kuyu levels cities that we aren't allowed to see and touch.
Really?
We know that they've been discovered by more older. I've tried to read through some of these people who have gone there earlier.
All right, here we go. All right, we're rolling.
It's all a conspiracy, right? That's always the easy answer. If you read the comments to this video, it's pretty clear that the creator there is a true believer. He's not. This is not a Poe or anything. Not that it matters, but so what's the primary fallacy that he's committing here? So first, this is all premised on a very specific narrative, very popular on TikTok and on social media. The idea that you cannot trust any authority. You cannot trust any institution, any scholarship, any expert, any expertise. They are lying to you. Whatever they say must be wrong. That truth can only be found by randos on the internet spouting whatever it is that they're spouting. As long as they're telling you don't believe the government, or whatever, or NASA, or in this case, the Smithsonian Institute, now they're the villain in this particular narrative for some reason, then whatever nonsense you claim must be true because they're telling you not to believe in the authorities. So this one, you actually can track where a lot of this is coming from. So the idea that there's a lot of Egyptian artifacts in the Grand Canyon comes from a hoax that was perpetrated in 1909 by this guy Kincaid and another guy who wrote an article about it, and it was all made up nonsense, right? They were there, I think they were on a grant from the Smithsonian, which is how they got rolled into this. The Smithsonian has been doing damage control on this ever since, right? Every now and then they have to say, no, we didn't find Egyptian artifacts in the Grand Canyon. No, this is all just made up. This is not true. You'll notice that there's zero evidence presented in this video. They go, wait for the next video. That's when we'll show you the evidence. All right, dudes, bring it. Show me evidence. Show me an Egyptian mummy, right? Egyptian-style mummy that was found in the Grand Canyon. Show me these alleged giants. I mean, the giant thing, this has been old and debunked for decades. So one, again, sloppy intellectual nonsense that he's spouting is that they found mummies in the American South and Southwest, more mummies than in Egypt. And he equates mummy with Egyptian-style mummy, but that's not what they found in the Southwest. So in any dry desert-like environment, mummification can happen spontaneously. Right, if your tissues get dried out sufficiently, right, you get all the water, evaporated or leached out or whatever, to the point where the tissues are all dehydrated sufficiently, then the bacteria cannot continue decomposition. You get mummification. Every desert, where there's animals and people, well, you can find examples of this sort of natural mummification. And so the conditions, depending on the burial conditions and the local environment, etc., there's lots of naturally mummified, people in the basically mostly the South and Southwest of the United States, especially these particular locations where the environment is suitable, that are natural mummies. But they're not Egyptian-style mummies. They're not wrapped like Egyptian mummies were. They didn't have their organs removed and their brains scraped out of their skull. I mean, Egyptian mummification was a specific cultural process. We are not seeing that in North American mummies. We're seeing mostly people that have been naturally mummified. They're very different. But this guy's equating all mummies as if all mummies are Egyptian. Again, it's just massively intellectually sloppy. So he's basing his claims on a over 100-year debunked hoax based on zero evidence. He's basing it on just rumors and innuendo. He's basing it on a complete misunderstanding of what a mummy is and a misunderstanding of the difference between an Egyptian mummy and a natural mummification process. There is no evidence for any of this. It's based primarily just on the strong desire not to believe anything an expert says. If an expert believes it, mainstream science believes it, the Smithsonian Institute, whatever, it must be wrong. And again, it's just this childish cartoon villain narrative they have about, well, the people in power don't want you to know the true history of life on Earth, of people on Earth, so they're hiding it from us. But it's based in complete ignorance of actual history, of how we developed the mainstream belief about human history to begin with. There wasn't any narrative imposed upon from on high from the powers that be. I mean, there were. Those are the false beliefs of the old world, the ancient world, that we were displaced by science, displaced by evidence and scholarship and study. right? I mean, the kind of things that people like the Earth is the center of the universe and people are, special and separate from the animal kingdom, all these things were disproven by science and replaced with thinking that is based upon evidence and logic and changes over time as new evidence is brought to bear. And there's a process where you're discovering the history of Egypt and North America and humanity on Earth and all of this stuff. And it's an evolving story as new evidence comes in. But they just don't know any of this. This is an ignorance of history, profound ignorance of history and the process of how science works. They just know that there's just some story they were taught in school, and they want them to believe this, so it must be wrong. So there's more interesting, silly stuff being said on the internet. That must be true. I guess that's what I'll believe and promote. Right? He has no knowledge. He has no information. He has no evidence. This guy's just repeating stuff, these long debunked hoaxes that he heard on the internet. That's his research. He's just finding what other people are saying who also have no idea what they're talking about. So, but you can find, the good thing is the internet is also a source of real information, which you can find if you know where to look. It's not hard. You just need to be intellectually curious. You need to have a little bit of an understanding of how knowledge works and science works. You can find the information there. But don't believe people who just have some simplistic, cartoonish narrative to sell. It's nonsense.
All righty.
All right. 3 more in the can.
That's right.
Be nice when I do actually retire. I'm not retired yet. End of June.
Mm-hmm.
Then I have a week off. Then I'm going to Sicily. So basically the end of July. Then I actually have a seminar at the end of July. Yeah. July's going to be a little bit busy.
Yeah. The summer tends.
Yeah, but we'll have a kind of a normalish schedule over the summer probably.
Yeah.
But really probably starting in August.
Then
really be able to we're going to be launching a new podcast. We'll tell you more about that when we're ready to go, but that's in the works. We do more live streaming. I'll be able to do more, more regularly be able to crank out these videos and all the stuff that we're doing. So
it's like more and more is happening.
More and more. And if there's anything you'd really like to see the SGU produce produce, then let us know. We're open to ideas.
Absolutely, yeah. You can always hit us up at theskepticsguide.org. There's a contact form, or info@theskepticsguide.org. Congrats on the new career. I know the current and new.
30 years. 30 years at Yale as a neurologist.
Pretty good.
That's a pretty good run. I'm happy that I got through the whole thing without being sued.
That's great.
I'm like racing to the finish line of 3 more weeks.
Yep. Podcasting, not so much.
I made it. No malpractice suit.
Or maybe not. It wasn't podcasting. You got sued. The blog, right?
I did get sued for the blog.
Yeah,
that's
so
different.
That's different.
Sued for
Separate.
telling the truth.
Yeah.
Truth to power.
Yeah, so
right. That's like almost inevitable. You're going to get harassed if you do this enough. If you're effective at what you're doing, some charlatan or crank or whatever is going to try to harass you to shut you up. That's just par for the course, unfortunately. We are forming with some other people that you probably know, a legal defense fund, a skeptics legal defense fund for people who get sued because they're just publishing good skeptical content. Well, at least, most of these suits can be dismissed fairly quickly, but you need that initial 15, 20 grand to make that happen.
Going into the court is very expensive. It is not recommended. Try to avoid it if you can.
Yeah. You can protect yourself, but again, not fully.
Not fully.
It's like even as a physician, like I'm obviously not worried about getting sued. I mean, I practice good medicine, but even if you were perfect, it's still not proof against being sued. Because sometimes even when you do everything you're supposed to do, there could still be a bad outcome.
Sure.
Right? That could always happen. So sometimes it's just luck. And like there was one case, like if there was one case in my career that I could have gotten sued over, it was a case where there was a very bad outcome. I got involved sort of in the second half of this case. I was actually one of the people who helped correct the error, but it doesn't matter. Like nothing I did was wrong. I actually was very instrumental in trying to improve the situation, but it turned south anyway. But the lawyers don't care. They just sweep everybody up.
Whoever's connected.
Right. Where anyone whose name is in the chart gets sued.
That's right.
But Yale is very good, I have to say. So Yale settled, because we were wrong, right? Collectively, mistakes were made. It was a legit suit. and I told our lawyers that. I was like, nothing I could say. This was a mistake. It resulted in a bad outcome. That's just the way it is. So, but they settle. They'll say, all right, we'll pay you. Yes, mistakes were made. We will give you proper compensation, but you have to you cannot put any of our physicians on a lawsuit.
Right.
So they basically shield us, because they're self-insured and everything. They basically shield us and then just deal with it themselves, which is good. Not all hospitals do that. So I've had colleagues who were thrown under the bus by their institutions. That's bad. And of course, you're in private practice. You're on your own.
Yeah. Another level.
So that kind of stuff happens. That's unavoidable if you're practicing medicine. The bad stuff's going to happen.
So watch out.
Yeah, whatever. It's just
future
is what it is.
neurologists and scientists.
So 3 more weeks and I'll be clear. I'll be clear.
Well, okay, we're gonna.
Then I can only get sued for what I say on TikTok and the internet, right? Which is it's always been the higher risk than my medical practice anyway.
There's people with more disposable income probably who can.
Yeah, you just have to learn to say, in my opinion.
Right. We need an alert. We need an overlay that says, in his opinion.
In my
just an opinion.
And then, you can call people names all you want.
Right.
Because that's protected speech.
Correct. Hey,
I could say this fucking guy all I want.
Guy, hey.
Right. It's when you make a factual claim.
First Amendment, thank you.
Right. So when you make factual claims, I sometimes have to correct my fellows because I'm very attuned to this now. Like you can't say this guy committed fraud unless it's been determined independently that they actually committed fraud.
Correct.
You could say, in my opinion, this should be fraud. Right. That's fine. So you just got to be careful in how you say things and how you write things.
Yeah, defamation.
Again,
is,
it's not proof. It's not proof, but you don't want to commit actual libel.
Right.
Right. And now, this happened during my lawsuit. Connecticut now has anti-SLAPP laws.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, which we actually applied during my lawsuit. So that's good.
That's good.
Yeah.
California, I think, is notorious for having anti-SLAPP laws. So
SLAPP is the strategic, lawsuit against public participation. Basically, you sue somebody to silence them. And some states, not all of them, we should have it at the federal level, and every state should have it. Should have anti-SLAPP laws, which you could basically say, I'm being sued to silence my free speech.
Correct.
That happens right away. Right? That's a motion that says, let's settle this motion before anything else happens. And if it's determined that it is a frivolous suit to silence your free speech, that ends everything right then and there. That's the key. Before discovery, before you have to spend tens of thousands of dollars, right? Before any of that happens, you can shut it down right away, and you get reimbursed for your legal expenses. That's what has to happen. You shouldn't sue somebody just frivolously or vexatiously, as lawyers like to say, in order to silence them.
Vexatious litigation.
You've got to be putting yourself at risk to do that. Of course, Trump wants to open up the libel laws. He wants to make it easier to sue people.
Of course, that's
he wants to silence the press. He's trying to hold them accountable.
Well, luckily we try to say true things here, so it's hard to claim defamation if you say something true.
The truth is a good defense.
Which apparently
it's not perfect.
It's not perfect.
It's not perfect, but it is a good defense.
Apparently, for anybody who's interested, Japan has some weird laws about that defamation, which is like even if you say something that is true, it can still be claimed as defamatory because it affects their public opinion, which is like crazy. We should get somebody on from Japan who maybe knows more about that.
It was true, but it hurt me.
Right, basically. So that would be an interest. It's like basically the court's be
terrible.
Nice and shut up.
That's oppressive.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad.
Yeah.
Apparently, I don't know. So Japanese listeners, correct me if I'm wrong, or lawyers. All right, I think that's it.
Okay, we're done.
We'll see you next week. I don't know what's happening Friday. We'll figure that out.
I'm out on Friday.
Okay, so there might be no Friday live stream. We'll get back into it with the summer, as we're getting things going and coming off of Nauticon. Hopefully you came to Nauticon. We'll probably post some videos from Nauticon over the next couple weeks, so check that out. Yeah.
Go to the next one. It was really good.
Yeah, it'll be awesome. So keep your emails open, and we'll see you around. All right, hitting the end stream.
Bye. Thanks, Ian.
Bye. No problem.